York, New York, the most vibrant city in the world, a symbol of liberty for all walks of life. The cornerstone of the world's financial community. And once a mecca for boxing's toughest brawlers in the heavyweight division. In the Roaring 20s, the Manassas Mauler, Jack Dempsey, migrated to New York, and in 23, in a packed Polo Grounds, he met Louis Firpo. In the first, Dempsey was knocked out of the ring. Sports writers broke the fall, but Dempsey knocked Firpo down 7 times in the first and out in the second. The Dempsey legend, boxing's first brawler. In the 50s, the Brockton blockbuster Rocky Marciano closed out his career in Yankee Stadium on September 21st, 1955. In the first, another surprise, light heavyweight champion Archie Moore dropped Marciano with a right hand. But by round 9, Rocky's non-stop combinations had worn down the challenger, the undefeated Marciano, a prototype of a tough and determined champion. In the 70s, a Philadelphia fighter named Smokin' Joe Frazier made his way to Madison Square Garden in search of the title. Reminiscent of those before him, Frazier battered Jimmy Ellis for 5 brutal rounds, vicious combinations, and of course, the classic Frazier left hook. And now in the 80s, we present the division's newest sensation, Mike Tyson. Cut out of the same brawling mold, Tyson knocked out a string of 19 challengers in just 12 months. With a display of awesome punching power, he's become the sport's rising superstar. But in his last outing against James Quick Tillis, he went 10 tough rounds. Tonight, New York hosts Mike Tyson versus Mitch Green. There may be no title on the line, but this building is alive, as if tonight is a heavyweight championship fight. We're live from Madison Square Garden in New York City, where HBO Sports presents the main event, a 10-round heavyweight fight between Mike Tyson and Mitch Green. So, a rising star has made his way to an arena steeped in boxing tradition. 3 heavyweight champions continue on in the Unification Series as Mike Tyson awaits his chance. Ironically, Michael Spinks, Tim Witherspoon, and Trevor Berbick have never even fought in this historic building. There was a time when Madison Square Garden was a showcase for names like Lewis, Marciano, Ali, and Frazier. And now, as we store those memorable nights away, a new force has emerged in the heavyweight division, reawakening a sleeping giant. Madison Square Garden is latched on to Mike Tyson as boxing returns to the main arena, a thread which ties boxing's glorious past to a promising future. Fight night in the Garden. They used to say it a lot in Madison Square Garden, but they haven't said it about heavyweights here in the big room since Ken Norton fought Jerry Cooney more than 5 years ago. Hello, everybody. I'm Barry Tompkins, along with Sugar Ray Leonard and Larry Merchant, and we've got what should be an interesting evening for you tonight. Ray, the legend of Mike Tyson, the man might have just become a little bit more mortal. He went 10 rounds with James Quick Tillis. What's the pressure like on him? You went through pretty much the same thing.
I tell you, Barry, I would prefer to fight an opponent than to deal with the pressure. It's really tough because, see, the fans' high expectations when they celebrate a fight like a Mike Tyson, it's every day because everyone critiques you in a different way. It happened to me when I first turned professional. Everyone expected me to be champion. I did become champion. But Mike Tyson, I'm impressed with the fact he's only 19 years old and very composed.
Well, Mike Tyson is only half the fight. Larry Merchant, Mitch Blood Green is the other half. What does he bring to the dance?
Well, if he doesn't pose a real threat to Tyson, he definitely poses a challenge. He's definitely the toughest character that Tyson has been put in with yet. And by that I mean just a tough guy off the street. How tough? Well, he asked to fight Mike Tyson. The last time we had that, Trevor Berbick asked to fight Pinklin Thomas. We thought he was crazy, and he went on to pull up a 7-1 upset. So, who knows about Mitch Green? In fact, Mitch Green was the guy who fought Trevor Berbick just before he pulled off that upset and gave him a heck of a fight. So, Mitch Green, a tough kid from the streets of the Bronx and Harlem. Tyson from the streets of Brooklyn. We're here in the Garden. In the old days, that's how they used to settle these neighborhood wars.
Interborough battle is what we got here. And so the selling of the quote, next heavyweight champion continues. If you talk to Mike Tyson, he'll have to say he's going to bite the promotional bullet. He asks about his feelings, and of course, he says people consider him a commodity. Like many 19-year-olds, Mike Tyson is preparing for finals. But he is not your average student. He doesn't read his lessons, he watches them. He doesn't attend classes, he skips them. But most importantly, he does not plan for his future. His future is being planned for him. In the 14 months since Mike Tyson made his pro debut, he's become one of today's most exciting and publicized fighters. The foundation was laid by the late Cus D'Amato, a legendary trainer of champions Floyd Patterson and Jose Torres, who proclaimed his student of the 80s the next heavyweight champion. In the past year, there's been a building process taking place. The architects are Tyson's managers, Bill Caton and Jim Jacobs. As the owners of boxing's largest film library, they've utilized their knowledge, expertise, and contacts in the career development of boxing's latest sensation.
Our chief responsibility has been, over the last year, to pick the opponents for Mike Tyson. Nothing is more important than the opponents you pick for a fighter.
The strategy was to pick opponents he would not only beat, he would beat devastatingly.
When someone sees a Mike Tyson fight, we want them to leave the arena saying, when can we go see him again? And that's where Bill and I are scrupulously careful in determining who he fights and the style of the fighter.
But it would take more than pulverizing unknown opponents in obscure arenas to get the attention of the press and public.
After his fifth fight, we decided the time was at hand for the marketing of Mike with a technique that had never been used before, simply because video cassettes were never really available to a manager before. We prepared cassettes of all of Mike's fights and sent those cassettes with a covering letter to the top sports writers and top television personalities throughout the country.
Wallace Matthews of Newsday, with a circulation of over 500,000, was the recipient of a Mike Tyson marketing tape.
It really brought Tyson to the attention of a lot of people who hadn't seen him, myself included.
In addition to Caton and Jacobs, there was also a support group whose involvement increased the awareness and interest in this 19-year-old phenomenon. Boxing promoter Jeff Levine, whose company could provide national television exposure, was hired.
The fact that a good part of the country was seeing the knockouts and the explosive power, I think that was what created that mystique to begin with.
Other interest was generated by publicist Mike Cohen, whose television and newspaper contacts added more fuel to the fire.
And when we sat down in that meeting with Levine, Jacobs, and Caton, the 100% A1 strategy was to go after the non-sports fan, to capture the fringe sports fan, and certainly the fringe boxing fan.
According to Cohen, this was achieved by selling Mike to the so-called newspapers of influence, such as the New York Times, the LA Times, the Chicago Tribune, and the Wall Street Journal. It said the press can make you or break you, but if you're Mike Tyson, its value has been priceless. Michael Katz, one of boxing's most respected writers, can attest to the importance of the press.
Press plays a very big part in the sense that if the promoter or manager knows how to use the press, you get the amount of ink, the timing of the ink, in such a way that getting a title shot pays. Anybody can get a title shot if you want to pay for it. The idea is to get the title shot so it pays you.
Based on the amount of exposure that Mike Tyson has received, it's fair to say that should he fight for the title, his dollar potential will have been maximized.
The press's attention is really basic to the success of a fighter in terms of the money that fighter could make. The bigger the press, the more prominent the fighter becomes, the greater purses he commands, the more interest he generates. 14
months ago, Tyson was earning under $1,000 a fight. Today, separate deals with ABC and HBO have brought in over $2 million for 8 fights.
I don't believe there's ever been a fighter who has reached this prominence this quickly in the history of boxing.
It would therefore seem as if Mike would enjoy being in this position. Yet, like the pigeons he raises at his Catskills home, a feeling exists that sometimes it would be nice to just fly away.
But can I tell you something? People wouldn't want to be in my shoes. They really think so because they say, wow, I can make money, I can get rich. But if they had to go through some of the things I had to go through, I think they would cry. Sometimes it's so depressing. You got to go through things. they always want something. They want to find a way to get your money. It's always people just as hard as you work in a gym, there's people working that hard to separate you from your money.
Despite the pressure, press, and notoriety, Mike Tyson does not regret where he is. He's just a 19-year-old whose only desire is to become heavyweight champion.
Personally, I feel I'm doing my job 100%, and I expect them to do their job 100%. The results are foregone conclusion. There's no way we could fail. We must succeed.
Thus far, the plan has succeeded, but what's yet to be proven is, will it stand or will it crumble? Well, it didn't crumble the last time, but it did wobble ever so slightly. Tonight, the Garden is the stage for the Mike Tyson story, Chapter 21. Now, with more on the marketing of the hottest ticket in the heavyweight division, here's Larry Merchant.
Mike Tyson is an awesome prospect. A prospect in the process of becoming a fighter, a challenger, a champion. All in the next week and a half when he's going to fight 10 times. Just kidding, folks. But it does seem that already, prematurely, he's being treated like some sort of human trash compactor. Expected to go out there and just grind everyone into powder. And if he does anything less, it's failure. So let's just remember that even the best prize fighters let some opponent standing and the critics clucking. And that he is just 19, and that he's been a professional only for 14 months. And he still has much to prove. That his punch will do as much damage to the better class of fighters as it did to the less better class of fighter. That he'll be able to take a punch. That he'll fight back when he's hurt. That he'll persist when he's frustrated. That he'll be able to go 10 hard rounds. And most importantly, that he'll be able to deal with stardom. Not let it suffocate him. Let it inspire him. So that he can shoulder the burden of other people's expectations. His expectation tonight is to beat Mitchell Green. But Mitchell Green, like him, is off the streets of New York, not Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
I'm not no bum.
Got in trouble. Last year I got locked up a few times. And then I never really realized what I was doing until my mom started going to court with me. And then I kept her crying a lot. And she used to complain about the police, get phone calls. She was getting answer phones at times. They were going to say one of her kids got killed or was in jail or whatever.
Charlene Green raised herself as she raised the family. Today, she is a commodity supervisor for a brokerage firm at the World Trade Center. Her love and example got through to Mitchell Green, made him believe he could raise himself.
Well, boys, get on back to camp.
Mitch was always a fighter. Always. As a little boy, as a big boy, and as a man. For some reason, he likes to fight. And I was very upset when he got the nickname of Blood. He likes that name. I don't.
A lot of people would like the idea that when I fought, like in the street, and I made a guy bleed, so they start calling me, they should call me Blood, they should call you Blood. Everybody had little nicknames at the time. So every time I fought, I would stop until I did make a guy bleed. You see what I'm saying? Those times I had fights, the guys would grab me and try to break it out. Let me go, let me go, let me go. Say, let me go. And I wouldn't be satisfied until I see a little scratch or a little blood here, a little blood there, you know.
But Mitch stayed very well for a little longer. He didn't really change until he became a boxer. And that changed him. I guess this way he could let off some of his frustrations and anger. And I don't know, he just had a mean streak. But yet he was good to people. He would help people. And in the home, Very respectful, very obedient. You wouldn't believe the things he would do in the street because in the home he was so different.
If you play by the rules, you can hit people legally in the ring. Green won 4 Golden Gloves titles. His style, however, as a pro was punctuated by homages to his upbringing as a hell-for-leather street fighter. A question tonight is whether he can discipline his talent. Be not just a pro, the professional. One valuable boxing lesson Green learned in the streets is that sometimes you have to jump up and down and shout while it's fight to get what you want. Once he paid an unscheduled visit to a Don King press conference to demand what he felt he should get.
I got all the potential in the world to be a great fighter, okay? But I ain't got championship mentality, you see what I'm saying? Now if I said, okay, do me as you wish, I get a title shot. I'll be broke, but I'll be a champ. Who wanna come home broke with a belt?
And if he had to fight Mike Tyson to get a shot, okay. Even if friends think that's going too far.
Mess with Tyson, buddy. Huh? I don't think you can mess with Tyson.
What he gonna do when somebody hit him, and when you hit a guy and the guy don't move?
You can't mess with Mike Tyson, right? Do not do it.
No guts, no glory. Mitchell Green has taken on Mike Tyson's on the streets all his life.
Tyson, I ask for you. I'm gonna break your neck. But you can't fool me. And look at me good, like I told you before. This is Blood Mitchell Green. The one all those fools was ducking. And I haven't had a chance to fight. And I was losing my desire for this fight, for the fight game until you stepped in my life.
Well, Charlene Green, ringside, very nervous lady. We spoke with her yesterday. She, of course, as we mentioned, has really been very much of a stabilizing factor in the life of her son, Mitch Blood Green. She hates that nickname. She said so in that piece. And it's been a fight that Mitchell Green seems to have been fighting for the better part of this week. We talked in that piece a little bit earlier about his jumping up and down and shouting. Well, that's exactly what he had to do at a press conference, or rather at a weigh-in yesterday.
I never drunk nobody.
Well, he said that he doesn't have a championship mentality. And here's another example of it. At the weigh-in, he raised the ruckus, tried to extort more money from his manager, Carl King.
And I mean that.
He knew what he was supposed to get, but just thought he might get a little bit more if he raised a little heck.
And Mitchell Green now making his way down the hallway, and it's a very short walk up to the ring here. I should point out one other thing, too. There was a story released a little bit earlier today by the New York Post and spoken about on some of the local television newscasts here in New York as well, that the New York Police Department would perhaps arrest Mitchell Green either before or after the fight. Well, the story is there is a minor warrant for harassment that was issued on May 13th for Mitchell Green. The official statement of the police department says it's a violation. It's not a crime. And after the fight, Green's agent will be informed of exactly what action the police department will take. And it could be an arrest, it could be a fine. Nobody really knows, but that is the official word. And in the meantime, Mitchell Green has some business to take care of. Here's a look at the record of Mitch Green. The one loss to Trevor Berbick, the draw early in his career, 10 knockouts.
We saw him as far back as his amateur career. He was always a very spirited, very tough kid in the ring. Not a classic style, but he'd fight you.
And he's made no bones about the fact he wants to get in there and go dukes with Mike Tyson. Of course, the question is, can he do it? And Mike Tyson, traditionally, no robe, no socks. He says it makes him feel like a warrior, makes him feel like a gladiator.
Well, no matter how much money he makes, he'll never squander it on his wardrobe.
I asked him to consider wearing socks.
Well, Ray, you were talking to him about that yesterday, and we were talking about the fact that really it seems like it would just be uncomfortable if nothing else. He just loves it. He says it just makes him feel like a warrior.
It makes him feel like he's ready to go to work. In fact, he is.
Hector Camacho takes a shower with more stuff on him than that.
And he's a guy who, again, we've used this before, but he's just a no-nonsense guy. He's here to do a job. He's a very low-key kind of guy. He comes into the ring now well warmed up, and that's another thing that you've talked about on numerous occasions.
Oh, he's ready to go to work. Perspiration on his body. Look at his facial expression. Very serious individual tonight.
He doesn't look like, to me, like he's going to get any roles on Dynasty.
No, I don't think so. Or the Love Boat, for that matter. 24-3 record as an amateur. He says he plans to have the title by age 20. Fighting twice a month, that's been pretty well documented, but should also point out that in his first 16 fights, he only fought 22 rounds. And here's
a graphic that shows how many fights in the first years as pro as some former champions. As you can see, fighting a lot doesn't guarantee you'll be a champion, or just fighting a little. But it's not that unusual in the context of boxing history.
And a tail of the tape, of course, a 10-year age difference. I'm not sure how much of a factor that will really be. The reach advantage for Mitchell Green, but the height advantage could be significant, Larry, if Mitchell Green decides to make it significant.
Right, because it looks to me that Tyson is closer to 5'10" than 6 feet. So that may be a little exaggeration. And there you can see in our punch stat just how many punches these fighters throw. And that Tyson rations his aggressiveness. He just doesn't come out and throw punches from all over, but he throws hard punches and not a lot of jabs. Green, as you can see, is more active. And there you can see we're going to track the body punches tonight that Mike Tyson throws. Although, as you see, he threw as many as 20 in a round and as few as 9 in a round in his last fights. But he's a devastating body puncher, much like Joe Frazier. And there's Mitch Green's jabs, not a very high percentage that he's landed.
Let's take a look at the rules then. Scoring by rounds here in the state of New York, but there is a supplementary point system in case there is a draw in rounds. And it's a 1-point system. If you win the round, you get 1 point. If you win it decisively, you get 2. 3 knockdown rule is in effect, and that's something you don't find in championship fights as a rule. No standing 8 count. You can be saved by the bell only in the last round. That's pretty general. And the ring doctor unusually can stop the fight here in the state of New York. Well, there's a look at Mike Tyson, and he really is a throwback.
Well, he's
right now, let's go up to the ring announcer, Ed Darian, for the pre-fight introductions.
From the beautiful Madison Square Garden here in the Big Apple of New York City, as well as the Empire State of New York, Don King Productions and Madison Square Garden proudly present New York is Busting Out, a scheduled 10-round heavyweight bout. Is approved and sanctioned by the New York State Athletic Commission, the former light heavyweight champion of the world, Jose Torres, chairman, Rose Tretman and Jimmy Dupree, commissioners. The chief physician in attendance at ringside this evening is Dr. Frank S. Folk, along with his 2 fine colleagues, Dr. Billy Lathan and Dr. Richard Estrico. The judges, Pat Dolan, George DeGabriel, and Georgie Colon. Counting for the knockdown seconds, alternate referee Carl Duke Schroeder. The timekeeper to bell is Cecilio Pedraja. In the ring at this time, the man in charge of the scheduled 10-round heavyweight bout, referee Luis Rivera. And now, boxing fans, introducing the principals. First, in the red corner, wearing the white trunks with the black and red trim. He tipped in at an even 225 pounds. This gentleman has 16 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, with 10 knockouts. He is ranked number 7 by the World Boxing Council from Queens, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mitch Blood Green. And his opponent in the blue corner, wearing the black trunks. He weighed in at 215 1/4 pounds. This young man is undefeated in 20 professional bouts with 19 knockouts. from Catskill, New York, ladies and gentlemen, here is Mike Tyson. Tyson. Little question as to the public choice.
I want a clean fight. Protect yourself at all times. Any knockdown, go to the front neutral corner and stay there until I tell you to come out. 3 knockdown without the fight automatically. Protect yourself at all times and listen to my commands. Check hand with the belt out. I'm going to fight in corner.
One of the things we're going to have to see here is whether the Quick Tillage fight was a meaningful learning experience for Tyson, or whether it exposed the weakness he's always going to have to fight to overcome.
Let us also remind you that we have ringside our own unofficial judge, Harold Letterman, who is, of course, a judge in the state of Nevada and was so much a factor in the last fight that we showed you here on HBO, that between Larry Holmes and Michael Spinks. Round 1, Mike Tyson right on top of Mitch Green.
Just as expected, Mike Tyson comes out like a locomotive, going straight for Mitch Green. Green, what he's going to have to do to be successful is to box. Pretty much do the same thing a boxer should do to a puncher. Keep that jab in his face and not be intimidated by his punching power.
Mike Tyson and his cornerman, Kevin Rooney, his trainer, were not real pleased with the Tillis fight because they said, both of them said, that he didn't double up. He just was a little bit lazy, especially in the later rounds. So we'll see what he does about that against Mitch Green.
Well, Mike Tyson told me the fact that he was somewhat a little reluctant to go full steam because he was going 10 rounds. I had the same experience when I fought my first 10 round in Baltimore against Rafael Rodriguez. It's in your mind, you know, the fact that can you go additional 2 rounds. But being conditioned like Tyson, there is no major problem.
Heavy-handed fighter. They say heavy-handed like George Foreman, but much faster than George Foreman. And just kind of getting over the butterflies of the first round. And he has them. He told us he definitely has a fear when he climbs into the ring. He says, I think any normal human being who says they're not afraid, not nervous when they get in a boxing ring is either crazy or lying.
What is your adrenaline? It's that anticipation of facing your opposition, knowing that he's capable, and the fact the crowd here who are definitely for Mike Tyson.
And he, of course, will be quick to credit Customato with his overcoming that fear and that nervousness. In fact, he credits Customato with his career period. It's a story that has been told many times, and we'll develop it as this evening goes on.
Well, Mitch Green is complaining about the head of Mike Tyson. You see what's happened? Tyson is not allowing Mitch Green to punch. He's staying right in his chest. He's smothering his punches, staying close to his punch, staying close to his opponent. It's similar to Joe Frazier. Always aggressive, right in front of his man. Now we see some head movement by Mike Tyson.
That was about a 3-punch combination by Mitch Green, Ray. But once again, it looks like Green is off balance when he throws his punches.
Well, the mistake that Mitch Green makes is the fact that he doesn't coordinate his fist. He's slapping his punches. And you have to make a guy like Mike Tyson respect you. Have to get those punches in and get him in sharp. That's the uppercut that was working for Quick Tillage.
Remember, this is only the first round. It's a very up-tempo first round. Good uppercut there by Tyson.
Come on, let it go, say.
And shots to the body.
Come on, let it go, let it go, let it go.
Another thing that Mitch Green is doing, he's trying to tie up Mike Tyson. He's not doing too good of a job now. He can't allow Tyson to get inside and work his body. Because in doing so, his body shot slows down your maneuverability.
That punch did land after the bell.
Just tap a little bit more.
Green tapped him and forgave him.
Come back punch like that. How you feel? Great. All right. A little water. Little chip. Not a boy. There you go. Spit it out. Spit it out.
Here you'll see, after the bell, right there, that last punch, a grazing punch.
You understand? When he get inside, tie his arms up, tie him up when you get inside, like this. You understand? Double the jab, straight right hand.
Keep that steady pressure. Keep it up.
Tyson's late mentor, Customato, taught what has been called the peekaboo style, holding the gloves up close to the face while you're coming forward. He wanted his fighters to be entertaining and aggressive, but not to lead with their chins. And you'll see that that's what Tyson tries to do.
The tactics that Mitch Green wanted to use was to tie his man up once he gets inside to stop him from punching and work to the body. He's not been successful, mainly because he's not tying his man up right. Got to grab those arms.
You heard Mitch Green's corner tell him, tie him up in there. Incidentally, the peekaboo style of Mike Tyson is different than that of some of Cus D'Amato's former pupils. I'm sure Larry Merchant will talk a little more about that, but his gloves are actually down around his chin rather than up on his cheeks.
What I'm looking forward to seeing, whether or not this clinching by Mitch Green is going to frustrate Tyson, because it has a tendency to really frustrate a fighter.
Good left hand by Tyson. Green got a couple of punches in, but as far as how solid those punches are, there's no comparison. Now Green holding and hitting.
In fact, he should get a warning here from Mitch Green from holding behind the head.
See it again, Ray. It just strikes me that Mitch Green throws an awful lot of punches off his back foot, which it seems would just take away all the sting.
Well, also, Mitch Green has a bad habit of leaning back. Watch the left hook of Mike Tyson land every time Mitch Green moves backwards. He has to keep those hands high. He shouldn't be inside with a fight like Mike Tyson. Tyson's arms are shorter, so he's able to throw quicker shots. There's the left hook I was talking about. Those short shots, Barry, are very effective.
The other thing that strikes me, Ray, is that Mike Tyson just seems to be right on top of his man before his opponent even gets a chance to take a breath.
Well, he stays right in his opponent's chest, because what happened by him being so close, it compensates for his height, the disadvantage. You notice that there is no mouthpiece in Mitch Green's mouth. He was knocked out by a left hook. Green needs to keep that mouth shut.
To Green's credit, he hasn't taken a backward step. Whether that's wise or not remains to be seen.
You notice time and time again, that left hook and those little short shots. Very effective shots. This is not the type of fight that Mitch Green want to have.
All right, break. Come on, break. Stop back. I told you, stop holding them punch, man.
And he did draw a warning from Luis Rivera, the referee, about holding. Green's in trouble.
Those shots to the body is doing it, taking his toll. He's really working. A lot of body, a lot of leverage. The body shots. Watch for the left hook. There it is again, Barry.
As advertised, inside of 10 seconds.
That hook is getting shorter, more powerful, and more effective. The uppercut's working beautiful for Mike Tyson also.
That was a good round for Mike Tyson. A very impressive round. Getting all of his shoulders into every shot, it seems.
Outside and tie the man up when you get inside. Fight, boxing. Tie the man up when you get inside. You ain't got to punch inside. Tie him up. You understand? Throw the 1-2 from the outside and tie him up. 1-2, tie him up. Don't fight him inside.
You don't have to fight him inside.
Tie him up. 1-2, jab and jab. Move this round. Move this round. When you get inside, Blood, stop fighting his fight. Move this round. Throw the 1-2 and tie him up.
All right.
You understand?
Hear me, Blood?
What's up? Give me the snapper. Blood, get him on the outside. Hold up. When he get inside, tie him up.
How you feel? How you feel? Okay, keep it up. Keep the pressure on. Just keep moving. Just keep moving like that. Stay right on him and keep punching on the inside. You're doing excellent, baby. Real good.
Come on, Dale.
When Blood Green was a gang leader, they say he had over 100 men in his gang. Right now, he needs some of them.
And again, Mike Tyson bolting out of his corner right on top of Mitch Green.
Let it go, man.
Tyson is so much physically stronger than Mitch Green, and he's using it to his advantage. Mitch Green is doing the wrong thing. He's fighting Mike Tyson's fight, trying to fight him inside, trying to exchange punch for punch. He can't do that. Tyson's far too strong for Mitch Green to fight that way. Mitch Green needs to get outside, work his jab, and attempt to outmaneuver Michael Tyson.
That's exactly what Green's corner. Green has been bleeding from inside the mouth, and I can't help but wonder if maybe he might not have suffered some jaw problems when he lost his mouthpiece in that last round.
When his mouthpiece was knocked out of his mouth, he kept his mouth open. Again, Barry, you have to watch these little short shots thrown by Mike Tyson. Very, very effective.
You gotta work. You gotta work these guys. Break. Come on, come back.
Inside, it can do a great deal of damage to the mouth.
You know, the last
fight that Tyson had against Tillis. And what a shot. That is an awesome shot.
That was just a jab. You have to appreciate it. One left jab. And the mouthpiece is gone once again.
Started to say Tyson and his people weren't happy about the fact that he had a hand free in a situation just like this against Tillis, and he didn't take advantage of it. But is he doing that tonight?
Well, the problem he's making, he cannot keep Mike Tyson off of him. Those little inside shots is really busting up the mouth of Mitch Green. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there was blood inside the mouth even between rounds, as we mentioned. It can't help it. He's breathing through his mouth.
Barry wants the left hook. The left hook is doing a great deal of damage.
Come on, step back. Come on, do your work.
Its inside is short, less than 6 inches. Even the uppercut of Mike Tyson has been effective.
That was a right hand at the top of the head. Green breathing through his mouth.
Tyson keeps that chin tucked in, so it's difficult to hit him on the chin. Hands high. He works his way in.
That was a right hook.
The man possesses so much power. He has dynamite in both hands.
It really is impressive.
And whatever punch that he's able to land against Mitch, it has a tendency to shake Mitch up. Those big broad shoulders, big arms. You see the exposed area to the body.
You have to think, Ray, that maybe the Tillis fight woke him up.
Well, it reassured him that he is a conditioned athlete. He can go 10 rounds, so there's no need for him to slow down the momentum. Both hands.
Go! It's obvious that Mitch Green just doesn't use the body he has. He's tall, he's got a long reach, but he doesn't use it.
Not working the body enough. He's doing excellent, but he can't lose. He's holding it up. I know he's holding. You keep the hand that's free, you just keep hunting it. Dig in, get mean. Keep the meanness in it. Keep the meanness in it.
Now here we see why the mouthpiece come out with that left jab, and in fact why it's so difficult for Green to move, because Tyson looks quick in there and he looks like he surrounds him. And here's the card of our official, unofficial judge, Harold Letterman.
Larry, so far Mike Tyson is awesome. He swept the first 3 rounds with clean, hard, effective punches. He's staying right in Green's chest. He's just running away with it so far.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Tyson anxious to get to work.
I want to mention one other thing, too, and that is that it wasn't only the mouthpiece that Mitch Green lost. We have a production assistant over on the other side of the ring. Said in addition to his mouthpiece, it was a bridge with a couple of teeth in it. That'll just give you an idea of how tough Mike Tyson is.
Mike Tyson, in this ring, he's at home. I mean, he fights with so much authority, so much confidence, so much determination.
Come on, step back and say break. Say break. I know you got point for you if you keep on holding.
The referee now is warning Mitch Green for holding.
Second time he has warned Green. Now, Green scored with a right hand, and it didn't slow Tyson up a bit.
Now, Tyson's doing what he didn't do against Quick Tillis. You notice when he's tied up, he still works the free hand. He didn't do that against Quick Tillis. Good left hook, solid left hook. Green cannot continue to take these type of shots. It's going to slow him down. It's going to take his toe. Working the body once again, Mike Tyson with that free hand.
The last time we saw Mitch Green in a preliminary fight on the Tubbs Witherspoon card, Ray, lost his mouthpiece 9 times. Is that any sort of indicative of anything in particular?
A lot of times it's fatigue, and also it's a way that fighters get a breather.
Left hand, top of the head.
A lot of times, because of the damage that's done to a person's nose, they have to breathe through the mouth, so they get rid of their mouthpiece. Not a smart thing to do, because their mouthpiece protects you from a broken jaw. Green now waving over to his corner to let him know that he's okay. But instead of dropping that right hand and the left hook of Mike Tyson is very, very effective.
That was another big shot right there by Tyson.
Break, come on, let it go, let it go. Very good, very good.
You notice that Tyson walks in, keeps those hands high. He's a very unorthodox fighter who punches with both hands, and which makes him quite a difficult target.
Yeah, in fact, that's what he says. When I asked him yesterday what his best weapon was, and he said, my elusiveness. He has said nothing about his punching power. He said, I'm elusive. That's what I do best.
And Barry, he's quick. I mean, his hands are faster than people expect or think. Now, see, this is how I got knocked down by Kevin Howell, by moving around too much. You got to slow down a little bit. When you get lateral movement, you don't need your excellent exactly one. Just move from side to side and stick the jab, but snap it. You got to draw it back quick.
Inside of 10 seconds.
That free hand to the body.
And that's something that he did not do against Quick Tillis.
Yo, 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 yo. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, Barry. Come on. Come on, come on.
They don't have any bells on the street corners.
Hold it.
Box him a little bit.
Yeah, for holding, not listen.
Box him a little bit. Snap the hard jab out. Snap it out. You understand what I'm saying? Let me get around. Fit 2 more, 3 more rounds. You want to keep the pressure on? Okay. You still got to use your jab more coming in then. You understand? Yeah, take that. Take that. You got that mouthpiece, right?
There you see, that's a tremendous number of body punches for a fighter to have thrown and landed in just 4 rounds.
Stay cool. You don't miss him with your jab. Every time you throw, which is occasionally, you don't miss him. Now,
bounce on now. Use your jab. Get off first. Deep breath. 1, 2. Go back out. Move, blood. Move.
There you see that Mitch Green really isn't taking advantage of his longer reach, his jab. Incidentally, although it's not that important, since Tyson won the last round anyway, the referee took the round from Green for holding.
Just a second ago, Mitch Green got a little upset with the referee. I guess the referee was trying to warn him for holding, and Mitch Green indicated that he was boxing.
Another big left hook, a running left hook by Mike Tyson.
You see what's happening, Barry, when Green moves backwards, he's only giving momentum to Tyson, because Tyson's going straight ahead. He's coming straight ahead. Tyson is not breathing hard, so that tells you that he's not concerned about going the distance, going 10 rounds.
In fact, we talked to him about that.
Tyson's talking to Mitch now.
In the Tillis fight, he fought hard for about 5 rounds, and then he seemed to coast a little bit.
Look at what he's doing now, Barry. Tyson. He's starting to really become very loose with his head. Slip punches.
Big right hand.
And that wobbled Mitch Green for a second there.
Come on, let it go, let it go, let it go. Break! Come back!
The reason you tie a fighter up is to at least clear your head, or either to throw off his timing.
Well, just how hard Mike Tyson hits can be learned in talking to some of the people he fought.
Look at here.
Just laughing at him. And Green seems to me, Ray, to be doing all the wrong things.
That's very good body movement by Mike Tyson. I'm impressed with that. And he's having fun. He's smiling now at Mitch Green. And see, those punches that was missed by Mitch Green makes your arm weary.
Come on, let it go. Break. Come on, step back.
And see, Mitch Green is not getting any type of respect from Mike Tyson, mainly because he's not making a fist when he throws his punches. Good left hook.
Another big left hook. And even more impressive because he doubled up on it. He missed with the first one.
You notice the way that Tyson is walking in. Moving that head. He's doing the right thing. Staying close to his man. No breathing room. No punching room. Good, beautiful uppercut.
Left hook, right uppercut.
Oh, let it go, let it go.
I like this here. Inside. What Tyson is doing to Mitch Green.
Started to say about some of his opponents and what they say.
fought a guy named Eddie Richardson. They asked him, have you ever been hit so hard? He said, yeah, about a year ago I was hit by a truck.
Very good. A lot of blood from Mitch Green's mouth.
You got to be first, man. This is 6th round. He's getting tired. You got to throw punches.
Stay busy on him. That's how you
throw combination, blood. 1, 2, 3. Punch in combination.
Come on now.
Punch in combination, blood. 1, 2.
You hear me, Floyd? Stay busy on this guy. If you stay busy
punch in combination.
Come on now.
Blood. Punch in combination.
There's Mrs. Green.
1, 2, 3. You understand? Be first. Don't wait on the man. You understand what I'm
really
saying?
nice woman.
Get it off.
Be first.
That's why you're sick of it.
You running out of gas. Now you got to punch.
Stay busy on him, bud. Go off on him.
You can't wait now. Where's Mouthpiece?
Keep your chin down when your hands are moving better. You may miss it, but you got to come right back. You got to answer that. Don't let these judges let him steal around. You understand? You win the round, you win on every round. Look around those uppercuts and make sure you keep punching.
When Green lands those, I don't know, slaps on Tyson, it's almost like a washerwoman slapping some clothes on a rock. Just nothing happens.
Mitch Green will have to do more than just slap because he has to stop that momentum of Tyson.
Come on, break. Come on, break.
That's what Tyson said about his own style. He says like water on a rock, but if it drips long enough, it's going through the rock.
Look, you notice the jab, the powerful jab of Tyson. It knocks the head back.
Wishful thinking in Mitch Green's corner, too. They were telling him that Tyson's getting tired. I don't see that.
I doubt that very seriously. Tyson's just as strong as he was in the very first round. He's maintained this pace. He's thrown a great deal of punches, mainly to the midsection. He's landed with a lot of good left hooks, solid left hooks. One thing you have to give to Mitch Green, he has a durable chin. He's taken some tremendous shots, body and head shots from Mike Tyson. Green is able to land one jab, and all of a sudden Tyson's right there in his chest.
Another big left hook. Just to conclude the thought that we started in the last round about Tyson's going 10 rounds, he said after he finished the Tillis fight, he did pace himself, and what a right hand.
There is such frustration in the face of Mitch Green. But every time he throws a punch and it misses, it seems to me that he wants to just walk away.
Let it go. Come on, let it go.
To conclude that, he said when it was over, he felt he could go 5 more rounds.
He's conditioned, Barry. You notice that when he goes to the body, he doesn't throw one punch, he throws 2, 3, 4 shots. I like the fact that Tyson used what he has. I mean, he has power, he has speed, has a good chin, and a huge net. I mean, he is so tenacious. He's not letting up. Keeping those hands high.
Come on, let it go. Come on, break. Come on, step back.
Having gone to 10 rounds against Tillis, Ray, you could see a different fighter here as we head into the last 5 rounds of this one.
It's only a reassurance that he's capable of going 10 rounds at full speed. Look at here, you can tell that he is not concerned about going the distance, throwing those shots, combination to the body. And he's done this from the very first round. And not breathing, look at him, he's not breathing at all.
Come on. On both ways.
And we want to remind you that coming up, the making of a rivalry, will it become fact or is it still wishful thinking? We'll look at the potentiality of Hagler versus...
Give me a break, Barry.
And the card.
Well, you got a shutout going here.
Absolutely, Larry.
Dwight Gooden.
Mike Tyson is just awesome. They took the 4th round away from Mitch Green, but it didn't mean anything. Tyson's all over him, and he's throwing those tremendous left hooks. He's all over Green. It's all Tyson.
It will be interesting to see what he does from here on out. because it was from the 7th round on against Tillis that he sort of coasted. And he finished with about a third of a tank of gas. We're talking about Tyson. So let's see if he uses up that gas here.
This is round number 7.
I like the tactics of Mike Tyson. He's not wasting any energy. He's moving forward, staying aggressive, getting inside, and you have to watch the beauty of those little short shots. They've been working so effectively. Now we see a couple left jabs thrown by Mike Tyson. There again, Mitch Green is throwing his punches, not doing any damage.
Yeah, they're almost just for effect.
The free hand again of Mike Tyson normally goes to the body.
Is this a good test, you feel, for Tyson?
It's every fight for Tyson is a good fight, a good test. You got guys that, especially like a Mitch Green or Quick Tillis, guys who, because heavyweights will be taller, the average heavyweight is around 6 feet, and he's able to cut the ring off and become more technical in the ring.
Chopping right hand did get in, but again with absolutely no damage.
Come on, it's not wrestling. Come on. Come on, let it go. It's not wrestling. Boxing.
I mean, Tyson, they're good uppercut.
What an uppercut. Just straighten Mitch Green right up.
If you look at Tyson, I mean, as far as perspiration, it seems as though he's working effortlessly. I mean, he's taking his time and just having fun. It's like chopping a tree down. He's going to the body and weaken the foundation, and then he comes to the head.
Come on, let go.
All that Mitch Green has been doing was basically retreating. He has to take the stand eventually. Another couple body shots.
Come on, let go.
There's the free hand for Mike Tyson.
Yeah, using that much more than he did in his last go with Tillis.
I mean, Tyson is actually concentrating. He's looking for an opening. And he's making that opening happen by working that body. Look at the uppercuts. And he's setting Mitch Green up with uppercuts. He throws his left jab, Green goes down, and up comes the right uppercut. A lot of boos from the fans, mainly because that Mitch Green is doing a lot of holding and less fighting.
Almost taking a pretty good beating. Taking a lot of punches and a lot of hard punches.
Tyson's not that impressed with Mitch Green.
They're not booing you. You all right? Let me get that water.
Stay, Mike.
That's right now.
He's free.
Stay right now. Listen up. Listen good. Now we got the side law. But every time you throw the jab, you don't miss this side. You understand me? You don't miss it. Sit around and concentrate on the jab. Bam, box him. Get over there.
Yeah, come on. Come out with 3 or 4 punches, blood, like you do on the bag. Bam, bam, bam. You understand? Get the jab out there and come with a combination behind the jab. What's wrong? You understand? Don't let him get inside and hit you with uppercuts. Keep him outside. You got to get in.
Give him some good shots, okay?
Take it out.
Come on, baby. Go ahead.
The crowd wants magic. And I think that Tyson would like to give them some magic. But his opponent isn't cooperating at the moment. He's not acting like a girl who's letting him pull rabbits out of his hat. He's fighting with a lot of neighborhood pride, and he wants to hang in there as long as he can.
Now break, come on.
Mitch Green told him to throw 2 or 3 jabs like he does in the bag, but the bag doesn't hit back. Tyson hits it back.
Come on, let us fight, man. Come on.
Tyson is not breathing hard.
This is the 8th round. It's been up-tempo for Mike Tyson right from the opening bell. Actually, a little bit slower this round than he has been. A little bit more leaning going on in this round.
Tyson would throw more punches if Green didn't tie him up. That was a good attempt with that right hand for Tyson. And now we see Mitch Green. He landed with a good uppercut there.
Green just trying to tie Tyson up, and a couple of good shots by Mitch Green. His best rally of the fight right here.
Look here. No.
He's caught Tyson 4 or 5 times, and Tyson for the first time seems a little bit puzzled.
Well, he's smiling. Tyson is smiling, but see, Green has those fast hands. Good body shot by Mitch Green. Now he's in a different Mitch Green. But he has to be very careful of exchanging punch for punch inside with Tyson.
Come on, let's go.
There was a right hand, a huge right hand by Mike Tyson.
Right, come on, right.
It's just even sitting 30 feet away like we are makes you wince.
Oh, you can feel the impact of his punches.
Come on. Stop holding, man.
See, also Mitch Green is not tying his man up properly. He's holding behind the head, which he allows those shots like that to land. When you tie a man up, you hold the grab around his arm.
That was another good shot to the ribs by Tyson. Tyson said one time, he said, "I understand anatomy."
Here again.
Oh, what a left hand.
And this is going to happen all the time because, again, you see the way that Mitch Green has his hand behind the head of Tyson. Watch Tyson should go to the body here.
Come on, let's break. Come on, let's go. Start break.
See the body shots.
Go!
Yeah, but close, a little close. You got to throw a little bit more. You got to throw more. You understand?
A little bit more, Mike. Come on.
You let him have a big round. You understand? He had nothing left after that.
Sit it out.
You don't miss him with any of them. Take a deep breath and let us go. Come on, baby. Deep breath. Take another one. So right on his face this time. 9th round, baby. It's a 9th round. You understand? Yeah. He made that round close enough to steal. We're going to get that one to him. Yeah, come right out there with that.
That was a first.
I don't want to give it to him. You get out there and take
Kevin
it back.
Rooney is in there and just jabbering away 100 miles a minute. Mike Tyson leaned over and just kissed him.
He hit him right hand hook over there, but you didn't get the side. You didn't double up. Where's the left hook? You do better when you get
Right that water air off the floor.
Clean it up. You got a flood there, guys.
This is an awfully good fight for Mike Tyson. It indicates that his management wants to get him tested. They want to get him into a position not where he's merely going to be maneuvered into a title fight to fight a title fight, but that somewhere down the road he will have had the training to win a title fight.
Tyson draws a warning for headbutts.
Mitch Green has to keep those hands up, which if he moves to the left or moves to the right, mainly because Tyson, he throws a looping right hand or a left hook.
One would have the feeling that Mitch Green will not be out boogieing tonight.
No, those body shots will stop you from doing the Pee Wee Herman.
Stop you from doing the waltz.
Let it go. Very good. Let it go.
Tyson's using, you know what I feel, Barry, he's using what he has. I mean, he's not what you considered flashy and what have you, and he's just taking advantage of every opportunity. He fights his man the way his opponent lets him fight him, inside, which is a big mistake that Mitch Green is making. Tyson's arms are short, so he has a tendency to loop his punches. Some are somewhat telegraphed, but because he has speed behind his punches, he's able to get away with it.
Continuing to bang away at the body with a free hand. That uppercut was short.
Mitch Green is not making this fight easy for Tyson either because he's steady tying him up. He's holding him.
Let it go, let it go.
I think the way you critique Tyson's performance is the fact that he's remained composed.
Watch it.
Normally, this type of fight frustrates a fighter. When a guy's holding you and complaining and what have you.
Tyson's corner wanted him to punch a little bit more. He hasn't really punched a lot more in this 9th round.
Again, it's difficult to punch a man who's tying you up and holding. Let's see here.
Oh, let it go.
For Mitch Green, it's pretty much survival. I've seen a different Mitch Green. He fought Purcell Davis in Atlanta and was a more determined and a more of a boxer.
Come on.
Here he's basically just trying to survive.
Break, man.
That seems to be something that runs through all of Mike Tyson's opponents, that they all are in there to survive. I'm not sure that could be said about
I
Mitch
don't
Green.
know if Mike Tyson is living up to your expectations, but I'd remind you that Joe Louis went the distance 3 times in his first 20 fights. Joe Frazier a couple of times. Rocky Marciano a couple of times in his first 21 fights. Some opponents just don't cooperate. Harold?
Larry, I just don't think that Mitchell Green's flurries are doing enough to offset Tyson's power punching. Tyson's landing too many clean, effective shots.
You might stop him, Blood. Go punch him. Go to punch him. You understand? Punch with both hands, Blood. Step to him. Don't wait on him.
No more rounds. Last one.
Step to him. Step to him, Blood.
He's going to punch like that.
I'm curious here, Ray, whether Tyson will be satisfied to go out winning, or does he want to go out closing the show in a sensational style?
Well, the way he's geared up now, he wants to go out in style.
Let's go.
You're going to see a very aggressive Mike Tyson this round.
Come on, let it go.
Tyson was ready to go. Luis Rivera said, shake hands before we get going.
Move back.
This is the last round.
Very good.
Tyson wants to go to work, but Green here doesn't want to fight, it appears to me.
Green's corner telling him to step in to Mike Tyson.
I don't want no wrestling.
This is a bad performance from Mitch Green. And he has some grievances with Don King about not getting the type of money that he wants. But the fact is, he has to prove himself here.
And the mouthpiece goes again.
He has to prove he deserves the money.
Come on. Very good.
Green trying to go to the body. Tyson leaning on him now a little bit.
What's going to happen as Tyson gets further and further into his career, he's going to figure out a better way to approach fights like this. Those shots to the body, I love those body shots. They really do a number on a tall opponent. It slows them down and cuts his wind off, especially if you have the power. But as I was saying earlier, Barry, the fact that these type of fights is good for a Mike Tyson because he's going to learn how to approach tall opponents more tactically. He'll learn how to cut the ring off and even score more effective punches. Moving that head very well, Tyson.
Took a couple of shots, but still.
The only problem I see with, excuse me, Barry, the only problem I see with Tyson is the fact he comes in sometimes with those hands down a little too low. Because if you meet a good puncher, the speed could prove to be disastrous. But now he's doing a job.
Well, remember, he knocked out his first 19 opponents, went the distance with Tillis, and now likely will go the distance with Mitch Blood Green. The crowd not real thrilled with the goings-on here.
Let it go.
The crowd come here to see a fight, boxer, puncher, and it's been pretty much of a dance for Mitch Green. I'm sure Mitch Green is going to be disappointed in this performance.
And we come to just about the end of it here. Another day in the classroom. Big left hand to end things. So Mike Tyson has gone 10 rounds for the second time in less than a month.
What do you say, my good friends? You know, it's very hot here in the city ring. These single men really work. Now, come on, one more time.
Mitch Blood Green, perhaps not being quite as accommodating to Mike Tyson as Tyson and some of the fans here would have liked.
Well, I think it was a good performance from Mike Tyson. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree, mainly because what you have to look at the fact that he went 10 good hard rounds with a fighter that was not, cooperating.
Take a look at the punch stat. As you can see, he was pretty effective with his punches, and there weren't a lot of jabs in there.
He threw a great deal of punches, more so to the body. Tyson delivered a great deal of body shots to Mitch Green. Green didn't fight at all to me. Did a lot of holding on and not effective.
Scoring with 6 out of 10 of his punches, and that's pretty high percentage for a guy who really is a power puncher like Mike Tyson, I would think, Ray.
Well, Tyson is a slugger. He's the puncher, and he worked in a very good way. He stayed close to Mitch Green. Green did not do anything but a couple of left jabs.
Is it a detriment, you feel, to a fighter where the image of Mike Tyson is he's going to knock everybody out who he gets in there with? Now he's gone the distance on 2 successive fights. Is it a detriment just to kind of build that kind of expectancy in the public?
Well, he just has to do what he does best, and that's work the body like he did. People are going to be so opinionated anyway.
Let's take a look then at Harold Letterman's card. And Harold, you pitched a shutout here.
Well, Barry, as I see it, in the eyes of this judge, you can't get points for holding, for taking a good shot on the jaw, and that's basically what Mitchell Green did. He held. Louis Rivera took 1 round away, warned him 100 times, but Green held and held and held. The closest I thought Green got was the 10th round, but even that, Tyson won.
There's the old thing of styles make fights, and perhaps in this case, Styles unmade this fight, if you will. Mitch Green really wasn't willing to be the cooperative opponent that the crowd and Mike Tyson perhaps would have liked. Let's go up to the ring announcer now, Ed Darien, for the official decision. Ed?
Ladies and gentlemen, from Madison Square Garden, we have a unanimous decision. And the scoring by rounds as follows. Judge George DeGabriel observed the fight 8-2. Judge Pat Dolan watched it at 9-1. And Judge Georgie Colon observed the fight 9-1 for the winner. For his 21st straight win in as many fights, Mike Tyson.
Well, to nobody's great surprise, Mike Tyson is the unanimous decision victor over Mitch Blood Green. And at a time like this, oftentimes we say an opponent was dead game. I'm not real sure we could say that about Mitch Green tonight. He did manage to take Mike Tyson's best punches, but I think really that's about all you could say about the opponent.
Well, Mitch Green was not a fighter tonight. All he did was try to survive, Barry. I was quite disappointed in Mitch Green's performance. He did nothing.
Right now, Larry Merchant is with the winner, Mike Tyson. Let's get up to the ring, and Larry and Mike. Larry?
Mike, this is your first fight here in the big room at the Garden. Were you satisfied with it?
Oh, most definitely. I don't want to sound rudish or anything. I didn't want to knock him out or anything. I wanted to put a lot of pressure on him and make him decide himself whether to give up or not. He wouldn't get knocked out. If he get hit on the chin, he can't see the punch, and he would say, oh, I didn't see the punch, I got knocked out. So I left it up to himself, and as I must say, I must take my hat off. He's a very tough individual.
That's a little bit odd. You're saying you didn't want to knock him out because you hit him some awfully tough punches for a guy who didn't want to knock the other guy out.
Well, they were tough punches, but they weren't devastating punches. They were rugged punches. Boom. Because I knew he's a professional, and if he would have went down from the punches, that would have been the fact that he gave it up.
That's his problem. Isn't your goal just to win it as quickly and as devastatingly as you can?
Most definitely, but I wanted to give a 10-round good performance, which everybody liked.
How would you rate this performance as against the Tillis performance? And what did that mean to you, having gone 10 rounds, perhaps not as satisfactorily as you would have hoped the last time?
Oh, well, those things happen. As you said, I had a 7-week layoff. And going 10 rounds, I'm telling you, it's fun. I'm having a good time in there.
I saw something I never saw before in a fight tonight. While your trainer was jabbering away there between rounds, you just sort of leaned over and kissed him like you were having a good time.
Because we knew we were going to win this fight so easy. In the paper, but he was going to knock me out. But we knew deep inside that I was going to win this fight so easy because of his style. He's a gang, tough opponent, and he took some fairly decent shots. But as you know, I won comfortably, and I didn't try for the knockout, and I used a great deal of discipline in there, not knocking him out.
Customato, your old mentor, wanted you, as all of his fighters, to be an entertainer, to excite the crowd.
They were excited today.
Did he? In the last few rounds, there was a little booing. Do you think it was for you or because he wouldn't fight you?
When the decision was up, who do you think they cheered for? There was no boos. You know, they booed because he was pushing a bug, and he bumped my head. He was bumping heads with me.
Are you on track to the heavyweight title? What's your schedule for the heavyweight championship?
In this predicament, you have to talk to the charming gentleman on my left.
Okay, we'll do that another time. He's talking about Jimmy Jacobs, his manager, which reminds me of something. Jimmy Jacobs is the only guy I ever knew who had 3 greatest in front of his name. He's the greatest handball player who ever lived. He's regarded as the Babe Ruth of his sport. He has the greatest collection of fight films in the world, some 98% of all the fight films ever made, 26,000 of them. And he has the greatest collection of comic books in the world. Every comic book, every published in America has gone to a warehouse in Los Angeles, and now he wants a 4th greatest, to have the greatest fighter in the world. Does he? Well, there's still a way to go. There are still questions to be asked and answers to be questioned about Mike Tyson. He hasn't yet proved that he's the second coming of Marciano and Frazier, but he does seem to be getting there. Slowly, but surely. Now back to ringside.
Have the opportunity to see what many people think is going to be the future heavyweight champion of the world. Mike Tyson currently ranked 8th in the WBC. Last month, we saw him go the full 10 rounds against Mitch Green. Previously to that, he beat Tillis going the full distance. So Mike Tyson comes in against Reggie Gross. Tyson undefeated, 21-0, 19 knockouts. A resounding ovation for Michael Tyson, who looks tremendous. He's a tremendous physical specimen. And let's go to the announcement from Frank Shane.
Counting for the knockdowns at the bell, referee Joe Santarpia. This contest, 10 rounds. In the blue corner, he's wearing white trunks trimmed with black. He weighed 218 pounds. He's fighting out of Baltimore, Maryland. His career record is 18 wins, 4 losses with 12 KOs. Here is a very rugged Reggie Gross. And his opponent in the red corner, he's ranked number 4 heavyweight by the World Boxing Council. He's undefeated in 21 professional fights. 19 of those fights, 19 fights ended in KOs, 12 of them in the very first round. He is the most exciting heavyweight the world has been waiting for. The undefeated Mike Tyson from Catskill, New York. His weight is 217 pounds.
All right, as you take a look at the tail of the tape and we listen to the referee talking, you see the age difference in the favor of Mike Tyson. The height difference is in favor of Reggie Gross, but almost everybody that Tyson fights, he'll be shorter than. Weight won't make any difference, and the reach is the same. Let's listen into the instructions going on in the center of the ring.
I tell you to break clean. Shake hands now. Come up.
The referee in the ring at this time, Johnny Lobianco.
We're all set to go here. This is scheduled for 10 rounds, scoring by the New York State Athletic Commission by round scoring system. 3 knockdown rule is in effect. The fighter must get up following a low blow, or he may be counted out. A fighter cannot be saved by the bell, except in the final round. Mike Tyson, in his usual black trunks, goes right to work on Reggie Gross. Now, Gross with an 18-4 record, the best thing he can do is try to tee off on this guy himself, because virtually he has no shot to win the fight if you listen to the boxing experts. Gross trying to jab and keep Tyson off him. They have exactly the same reach, but Gross has that 3 inches in height advantage. With Tyson, I don't know if it's an advantage or not, because he gets down and inside the body. Gross from Baltimore. For him to beat Tyson would certainly vault him right into the world rankings, and it's a great shot at this stage in his career to have a shot at Mike Tyson. For Tyson, it's just another fighter and another month until he gets a shot at the title. Ranked 4 by the WBC, ranked 8 in the overall world rankings. He's undefeated, been extremely impressive. 13 of his 19 knockouts in his 21 wins have come in the first round. And I suppose he'd like to keep that moving with Reggie Gross. His last 2 times out, he's had to go the distance. A difficult battle with Mitch Green last time out, went the entire way, but Tyson won every single round. Before that, he went the distance against Rick Tillis, who's been in with everybody. So Mike Tyson in his last couple of fights has fought world-recognized opponents, I suppose would be the best way to describe them. The fact of the matter is, Reggie Gross is not in that league. And if Reggie stands flat-footed like this, he won't be in this ring too long either. It's an 18-foot ring inside the rope. Reggie doesn't look to have an awful lot of power. Throwing a lot of punches, but not landing too much. That time he landed one, and the left hook drops into the canvas. Hits the power of Mike Tyson. The count is up to 6 and 7. He's up for the 8th count. Gross to Taylor. He opened up. Started throwing roundhouse shot. He walks in the right hand. The left hook. And Gross is down again. His eyes are very glassy. I don't know if he can get up. It's up to 5 and 6. I don't think this fight can continue. His eyes are very, very glassy. And referee Johnny Lobieko stops the fight. And rightly so. Reggie Gross's eyes were glassy, and it'll be scored as a first-round technical knockout win for Michael Tyson. Another big win for Mike Tyson. His record goes to 22-0, 20 knockouts, and 14 of the 20 knockouts occurring in the first round. So Mike Tyson shows his power once again. Reggie Gross, the opportunity of a lifetime, and it didn't pan out for him. He got careless when he started throwing roundhouse shots at Tyson. He threw about 10 of them. He may have landed 1. It took only 1 left hook for Mike Tyson to drop into the canvas, and the fight was virtually over then. He got up. Tyson came right back at him, as you saw, and he was glassy-eyed when the referee, Johnny Lobieko, stopped the fight. So another big win for this man, a fella you're going to hear and see quite a bit more of here in the Don King Sports and Entertainment Network. Michael Tyson, another big first-round knockout. Watch the first knockdown here. You see Gross landing some punches there, and see how wild he is? He's wide open now for the left, and watch it. He feints, moving the body, moving the trunk around. Wild with a uppercut, and now he's wide open for a left hook. There it is, right there. The outstretched right arm. The left hook nailed him, and that fight was virtually over there. See Tyson moving the trunk, moving the body. No blows really landed very heavy. It looked great. That uppercut did land, and he landed one more right hand, but not too heavy. Now look for the opportunity. Tyson is mad now, and he shows it by dropping Reggie Gross with a vicious left hook to the head. After that, Gross was able to get up a different angle for you. Again, watch the uppercut will land. The right hand will land. There's the uppercut. Now the right hand will land. Not too heavy. Now watch the left hook. Bang, right there. Announcement from Frank Shane, the ring announcer.
minutes and 36 seconds of the first round. The winner is still undefeated, Mike Tyson.
Introducing in the red corner from Cushing, Oklahoma. He is wearing black trunks with white trim. He weighed in at 198 1/4 pounds. He has a professional record of 16 wins, 5 losses with 9 knockouts. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lorenzo Boyd. And in the blue corner, from Catskill, New York, he is wearing black trunks. He weighed in at 219 3/4 pounds. He has a professional record of 23 wins, no losses, 21 knockouts. He is ranked number 2 in the world by the WBC. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mike Tyson.
Rousing cheer for Mike Tyson, 23-0 with 21 knockouts. He won his first 19 by knockouts and went the distance with Tillis and Green, and then won his last 2 by KO. Lorenzo Boyd, 16-5, 9 knockouts.
usually fights at around 205, 206. Sid Rubenstein is the referee for the main event.
Don't make me break. Come in between you to break you every time.
Sid, a
my
retired
command. Shake hands now. Come on,
lieutenant from Long Island. How to get that in, because who knows how long this fight's going to go on.
Let's find out. Scheduled for 10. Don't go away. Don't blink your eyes. Lorenzo Boyd giving away an awful lot of weight to Mike Tyson, 21 pounds. Quick right hand by Tyson.
Mike Tyson's fastest knockout, 37 seconds of the first round. Robert Collier last October 25th. I got something in.
Tyson bouncing around, showing a lot more movement than usual.
In watching tapes of Mike Tyson, so many times he falls off balance. His feet get mixed up. He starts boxing out of a southpaw position, but he hits so hard that it doesn't matter what position he's hitting you from or what angle. He's just a devastating puncher.
To the body with a right hand. That hurt Lorenzo Boyd.
Boyd making the mistake of backing up. He's got to come in and throw punches.
Boyd, one-time police officer in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
If Boyd was a boxer, I'd say, okay, box. But he's not a boxer. He's a slugger. He's not a quick killer. He's not a tall man like a Mitch Green. He's got to slug. And if you wait for an opening, I don't know if he's going to find it. Mike Tyson has two of the quickest hands in the heavyweight division.
Boyd crowding Tyson and looking for an opening. I know Boyd wants to come in with the uppercut, but hasn't shown it. Tyson shows it there.
This is Mike Tyson's first fight as a non-teenager.
Just past 20 years old. Belated happy birthday to Mike Tyson. Tyson in at 219. Boy, he carries the weight well.
He carries it so well. He says he feels heavier, actually better at this weight than he does when he gets in around 214, 215.
Solid body shots from Tyson. A minute to go in round one.
Fourteen men have fallen down in the first round.
Again to the body. Boyd trying to answer back.
All those shots picked off.
Half a minute to go, round one.
In Mike Tyson's last victory against Hosea, he injured his left hand, and they said he was nursing it in training this week. So let's watch to see if this fight should go a number of rounds, if he does hold back on that power left hand.
Boyd doing some holding here. Final seconds of round one. You're watching Professional Boxing. We'll be back in a minute. Sam Rosen and Randy Gordon ringside at the Stevensville Country Club in Swan Lake, New York. And Lorenzo Boyd has done what 14 others have failed to do against Mike Tyson. Let's go into the second round.
It was Customato's dream. Customato, the late great trainer, the man who was the legal guardian of Mike Tyson. It was his dream to see Mike Tyson become the youngest heavyweight champion in history. Floyd Patterson, who was guided by Customato, he did it at 21 years old. And within the next year, the plan is to get Mike Tyson up to the heavyweight championship of the world.
Trained by Kevin Rooney, co-managed by Jim Jacobs and Bill Clayton. Good right uppercut by Tyson. Solid on the chin. Bill Clayton, excuse me. Dropped an L in there where it didn't belong. Body shots very effective for Tyson thus far. Lorenzo Boyd started his boxing in the Army, actually sparred at Fort Bragg, North Carolina with James Broad, the first boxing experience he had. And when he was on the police force in Stillwater, Oklahoma, the guys in the department kind of urged him on to become a fighter, and then he's gone full time. He's also taking criminal law courses at Oklahoma State. Right now he backs off from a sharp right uppercut to the body by Tyson. Again, a double right hand to the body and the chin. Down goes Lorenzo Boyd. The count is 5. The count is 6. The count is 8. He will not get up. It's over.
Sam, show me what heavyweight throws punches that quick. Those were 2 right hands, one to the body, and you snap your fingers. It was turned into, I believe it was a right uppercut. That's how fast it was.
Chalk up another knockout for Mike Tyson. What was expected? But again, in watching Tyson, I think you have to watch him with an eye of this man's talents and skills and how he's honing those skills. Talking to Jim Jacobs there, and he's getting better and better. You can see him do things each fight a little better, a little sharper than he did in the previous fight.
Can he box? I believe so. Can he punch? No question about it. I think one of the hardest hitters in heavyweight history. Is he unstoppable? We don't know that yet, but he's looking more and more unstoppable every time out.
Mike Tyson, second round knockout over Lorenzo Boyd. And here it comes.
There was a hard left hand. He didn't get full extension on it. Then, right hand to the body, just like that, upstairs with the right uppercut. Good night.
Wow. And Lorenzo Boyd saying, what hit me?
Watch the side of Lorenzo Boyd's body. You think the body shots of Tyson, I mean, the body just about collapses in there.
It's the tremendous leverage that Tyson has. The way he throws his punches, he gets his entire body. 219 pounds went into each of those 2 right hands to the body. Everything went in it. Tremendous. No arm punches from this man. Entire body. Great leverage. He's been taught well. He's learned well.
It doesn't matter what hand Tyson hits you with. He hurts you. He leaves impressions, even when he hits you on the arms.
Ahead for Mike Tyson later this month is Marvis Frazier. Again in a couple of weeks. That's been Tyson's schedule. Fight, couple of weeks, fight again. Marvis Frazier is next up. Another test. Should be a pretty good test for Mike Tyson.
Yes, it should, because I don't see Marvis Frazier, who's got that bob and weave style, real good legs. I don't see Marvis coming right out and winging with the guy. I think he's going to...
Great victories, 22 inside the distance. They thought a fight against Joe Frazier's son Marvis would extend the angry and precocious Mike Tyson. This is what happened last month at Glen Falls in New York.
So a big test then for the old champion son Marvis. Remember, he's only lost to Larry Holmes. A little bit lucky apparently to get a decision over James Bone Crusher Smith of Bruno fame. And here's the man of very much of the moment, isn't he, Mike Tyson? Big favorite in New York State, of course. Frazier from Philadelphia. He really stalks about, doesn't he, Mike Tyson, like an old-time prize fighter there. Count in the house like a promoter as well. So very similar styles, remember, both by heavyweight comparisons really a bit stocky, although they're big enough guys, aren't they, today? Anybody under 6 feet, we call them stocky now. So, in the white trunks then, Marvis Frazier and the unbeaten Mike Tyson. Oh, before the bells died away, he's laying into him. Oh, what a start there. The uppercut's coming in yet again from Mike Tyson. Man, absolute murderer in there. He really is. Frazier's going to get around, use the shot. The uppercut getting through the guard there, and he's got him in the first round. He's not going to make it. He has really gone there. It's just the formality of the count. In fact, he's interrupted the count. The referee got the gum shield out, and Marvis Frazier looked as though he could be out for the night there. He really does. And Joe Frazier getting in, and the doctors, of course. What a sensational start there. Half a minute by Marvis Frazier there. He hardly threw a punch, and here's the fellow that's the most exciting fighter in the business now, bar none, 20-year-old Mike Tyson. Another quick look then up the finish, and it really is quick, and that's it. The uppercut does the damage, and he sinks there. He's lost all control. It only really needed the one punch, side of the chin, and it's all over bar the shouting there. A really brutal beating.
I feel so confident, and I knew deep down in my blood that I was going to stop him in the first round.
You said that you feel fear before a fight.
Did you have any fear for this fight, and how do you deal with that fear?
Well, I use the fear to reflect it on my opponent, because fear I use as my friend. It's my friend. If I don't have it, I don't fight.
In your mind, if your managers Jim Jacobs and Bill Caton and your trainer Kevin Rooney came to you and said, Mike, we think you're ready for a title shot tomorrow, would you agree with them at this point?
Most definitely. Anytime if my manager and my trainers feel that I'm confident and they're willing to put me in a title and they're sure I could beat the champion, I'm sure I could beat them also.
And when he'd had more time to evaluate that shattering first-round victory, which, by the way, lasted only 30 seconds, Tyson boasted that he was the best in the world. Well, I saw
Mike Tyson.
There's a man that could beat Mike Tyson, is Hosea Ribalta. There's going to be a lot of people surprised down in Miami when he knocks him out. When Mike Tyson hurts a guy, he puts him to sleep. If he tags Jose, I hope he don't think Jose's going to lay down. He just better be ready to take another shot. I'm not going to take no credit away from him, but to this day, he hasn't faced anybody that can punch like Jose.
The sensational Mike Tyson. To most, he seems unstoppable, but the confidence of the Jose Ribalta camp is unshakable.
You just better look out, because I'm ready. I'm coming to take it. I'm coming to take him out.
All of us doing our job 100%, the result, the foregone conclusion. There's no way we can fail. We must succeed.
Tonight from Atlantic City, watch Mike Tyson as he tries for knockout number 24, and a very game Jose Ribalta as he attempts to beat the odds and hand Mike Tyson his first professional loss. Live from Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City for heavyweight boxing, where just above the boardwalk, the knockout sensation Mike Tyson takes on heavyweight hopeful Jose Ribalta in a fight scheduled for 10 rounds. There's a breeze blowing on the Atlantic. In fact, it's a full-fledged hurricane. But the crowd here inside the Trump is heating up in anticipation of tonight's bout. They want to see knockout number 24. And so does Mike Tyson. Hello, everybody. I'm Barry Tompkins, along with Sugar Ray Leonard and Larry Merchant. You know, when we prepare for a fight like this, you always try to find a way for the underdog to possibly win it, just so you can be objective. Well, I looked at Jose Ribalta's chances today. I found no chance. With all the ifs and whats and whys I could put together, I still found no way, Ray Leonard, that this man could win the fight. It doesn't seem to be a question of if, it just seems to be a question of when. But what about Mike Tyson? Is there a tendency to perhaps overlook a guy like Ribalta?
Well, you know, Barry, unfortunately, it's happened in the past, and it can happen tonight. But for Mike Tyson, I think that's such a remote possibility because of his attitude. And the reason I say that, because he's a man with a mission to become champion. He's serious about his career. He's serious about becoming champion. So I doubt very seriously if that becomes a factor here.
Larry Merchant, you've been around this game for a long time. What legitimate chance does Jose Ribalta have?
Well, I guess you could say he has about the same chance as an open hand against a balled fist. Basically, there are two legal ways to fight Mike Tyson. One is to try to nail him with something hard on the way in and get his attention. Nothing in Ribalta's record indicates he could really do that. Secondly, fight him a knuckleball kind of a fight, darting, diving, ducking, trying to frustrate him. Maybe Ribalta could do that, but it's still an open hand against a balled fist.
Well, the fact remains, the press and the public alike continuing to sing the praises of this man, Mike Tyson. They think the next great champion. All the while, Tyson puts one segment of the public on the unemployment rolls. You say your job's got you down. Tired of doing the same old things day in and day out? Well, try something new and different.
Hey, Dion, time to go to work. Okay.
Hi-ho, it's home from work we go.
If you've got a good head on your shoulders and like something that keeps you on the move, this could be just the ticket. Here's what our present employees have to say about the unique opportunity that awaits.
Hi-ho, hi-ho.
Believe it or not, as ludicrous as it may sound, I might have done it for nothing.
You get top pay, travel, you get to see the country, and you get treated well. There's a lot of advantages here.
Sound too good to be true? Well, there is one slight drawback. The job is sparring partner for Mike Tyson. If most fighters can't last more than one round with Tyson, why would you want to box with him every day?
It's like a fight. You rib yourself up, you get yourself geared up to actually face this guy every day. And you look to try to hurt him because he's trying to hurt you.
You must do nothing but concentrate on nothing but Mike Tyson for 3 minutes. And before you get in the ring, you have to really prime yourself up for that. If you don't, then that could create problems for you.
In a sense, this is not really a sparring session, but a fighting session.
I always make it a point to say, look, I want you to go out there, and I want you to do the best you can do. I want you to go out there, I don't want you to hold them back. This isn't a sparring match. I tell them, my guy's here to fight. My guy's going to go hard.
And they're called sparring partners. Not so? Perhaps a fighting partner would be more appropriate.
I train the way I fight. If someone comes to box with me and they're not serious, I think they're making a very foolish mistake. I think the best profit of it is when you have a sparring partner in there that's not intimidated and is throwing punches and trying his best to get the edge and win. Like it's a fight, trying to knock you out.
But thus far, no partner has stayed around long enough to even come close to knocking Tyson down. Most major camps pay sparring partners up to $500 a week for approximately 15 rounds of sparring. Yet in the past year, the young Tyson has had over 24 employees come and go. A folder has been kept which lists past and potential Tyson fighting partners. While some didn't last too long, there have been others who simply wanted no part of Mr. Tyson.
I've had guys walk right out. I had one guy walk right out. That was it, boom, boom. He didn't even work to get paid. Some of them say, well, this ain't for me. And they go. Or they don't come back, you know. They say, I'll call you, and they never call. We call them, and they got to work, they got a job, they got this, or they got that.
When your fights have been as brief as Tyson's, good fighting partners and sparring sessions are a necessity. Therefore, Mike has occasionally worked with well-known fighters. The list is long. Tyrell Biggs, James Broad, Frank Bruno, Carlos De Leon, Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, and Carl the Truth Williams. But in every case, the relationship between Tyson and his partners is generally confined to the gym.
We're friends to a certain extent. If there's a possibility I might fight them, I respect them always, because, you know, sometimes this is a business, and sometimes you wind up fighting your sparring partners.
So, if you want a job with the Tyson Company, keep one thing in mind before showing up for work.
You don't get anything without working for it, and sweating for it, and sometimes bleeding for it.
Well, he fancies himself a gladiator, and gladiators, of course, didn't wear headgear, even to spar. Tonight, Chapter 26 of the Mike Tyson saga. Hosea Ribalta is the next to think Mike Tyson ain't so tough. The last guy to think that lasted 30 seconds. Now, with more on the man and the myth, here's Larry Merchant. Larry?
Since we aired Mike Tyson's fight with Mitch Green last spring, his second straight decision victory, there's been a small wave of healthy skepticism aimed at Tyson. Healthy, but in all likelihood, very misguided. The reason it's healthy is that Mike Tyson, after all, hasn't beaten any top opponents. His vaunted punch hasn't been tested against the best in the heavyweight division. And healthy also as a response to some of the media hysteria already tabbing this 20-year-old Tyro as a certain future great. All of that still has to be proved. At the same time, a response to Mike Tyson that indicates that maybe he doesn't have the talent is a little bit contrary, I think. He's not yet a polished fighter, and maybe never will be a fully polished fighter, but boy, he's a good one. And sometimes youth outruns and outguns its mistake. Who, after all, cares if Boris Becker has to work a little bit on his ground strokes, or if a good fastball pitcher has to work a little bit on his pickoff move? Tonight, we're going to take a look right now at the man who has to face Mike Tyson's 150-mile-an-hour serve and 100-mile fastball. That awesome pressure. Let's see him.
The island of Cuba recently marked the 27th anniversary of Fidel Castro and his communist regime. Among the many changes that came with Castro's communism was the elimination of all professional sports. In boxing, the last world champion was Kid Gavilan. Heroes like Teofilo Stevenson would remain amateurs. Jose Ribalta's family fled their Cuban homeland, and now this little-known heavyweight gets his chance to make a big splash.
Mike Tyson, here I come. Here I come. You better be ready. You better be ready. I'm getting a lot of media attention, and everybody around the neighborhood really has encouraged me for this fight and telling me that I can beat him, which I know I can beat him too. And I've been training real hard for this fight.
But who is Jose Ribalta? Well, his amateur career began about 10 years after his family left Cuba.
I met Jose at Moore Park. He was a big kid, about 12 years old, and me and him used to cut up a lot together, and we got to like each other. There was a group of guys that used to hang around together, and I used to have a lot of fun with them. So I started teaching Jose how to box, working on a heavy bag, and he went in the Golden Gloves. He won the Golden Gloves, and then he went to the Nationals. He won 4 fights in the Nationals. He went to the finals, and I was pretty proud of him at the time.
But the #2 amateur in the world decided not to wait around and compete in the 1984 Olympics. In an effort to help raise money for his family, Jose Ribalta turned pro in 1982. 3 years later, he faced top-ranked heavyweight James Bone Crusher Smith. Jose, with a record of 16 wins, 1 loss, and a draw, faced his first real test. In round 1, the man who gave Larry Holmes a tough time gave Ribalta a furious flurry that sent him to the canvas. But Jose took it in stride.
The only reason Bone Crusher knocked me down really in the first round because like my manager been saying, Louis de Cuba, and telling me that, Jose, you have to get a good split before you go in the ring, and that's one thing I didn't do in the Bone Crusher fight.
After round 1, Jose warmed up and took the best punches thrown by Bone Crusher, then threw a bevy of his own. By the end of 10 rounds, Jose and the crowd felt he'd turned the fight around, but the judges didn't. The decision was just as devastating as the first round knockdown.
Decision. James Bone Crusher Smith.
I had a little bit of tears in my eyes because I feel so bad, really, because that's something that you work so hard for, all your life, and then, you get a time of opportunity like this, right, and all of a sudden, some judge, just, boom, just don't want to give it to you, just takes it, in a way, like, almost takes your dream away, something you worked so hard for.
I expect you to obey my commands.
4 months later, Jose was back in the ring, only to suffer yet another damaging loss, this time at the hands of Marvis Frazier. Although in his own mind, Ribalta feels this loss was the result of the impact of personal and managerial problems, he realizes that many question his ability to fight the man who put Frazier away in less than a minute. His response is quite simple and quite confident.
The only thing they're going to say is, oh, what is this? How can this guy lose to Frazier and come back and beat Tyson, and Tyson knock Frazier out? That's what they're going to be trying to solve, right? Yeah.
Over the last 6 months, it does seem that Jose might have solved his managerial problems. The addition of Luis de Cubas may prove to have the answer to Jose's future.
What Jose wasn't doing in the past was something very simple. He wasn't getting 30 minutes before the fight. He wasn't getting, I feel, ready. Not mentally, but he wasn't warmed up before the fight. We're going to be doing a lot of different things now. We did it for the Rich Keller fight here in Miami. We got him so warmed up that when he came to the first round, it's like he had fought 4 rounds. His eyes were right, his timing was right, his reflexes were right, And what hit Rich Keller was a bomb. That's all. Put him to sleep.
So far from the prying eyes and the glitz and glamour of the television cameras, Jose Ribalta has quietly gotten back to work. He's added 4 straight knockouts to his record, and all came within the first 5 rounds. In the eyes of his camp, Ribalta is now getting the fundamentals that he had lacked in the past. His camp feels ready. They feel the man is ready for Mike Tyson and ready for Jose's first televised fight in almost a year. This, they feel, is the big opportunity for Jose Ribalta, the boxer, and for a community that continues to seek its heroes.
I think the Latin community down here in Miami, I think it's looking for a star right now. You know, they got the Jose Canseco of the Oakland A's, which the Cuban people really took over. That's all they talk about in 8th Streets, about Jose Canseco. Now, you know, they talk about some fighters in the city, but I feel that if Jose Ribalta can beat Mike Tyson the way I know he's going to beat him, he's going to become a star across the country, not only across the country in Miami. I think that's what the Cuban people are looking for.
So all that's left for Jose Ribalta to do is, as the song says, go and get it. When you're facing Mike Tyson, however, that's probably a lot easier said than done. One thing is certain, the Ribalta family has provided the support and nurturing that Jose feels he must have. During training camp, he dropped 11 pounds, so he immediately picked himself up, packed his bags, and headed straight home to Mom.
I just miss that home cooking and that family warmth, really, that I miss. I just feel really, it's just time for a Cuban champion, and really somebody, you know, to speak up for the Cubans now, really. Therefore, that's why I'm, you know, boxing too. I'm doing it for Cuban people, and especially for me. That's what I'm doing it for, really. And, you know, I'm going to fight Tyson. I'm just going to go out there and give it my best, you know.
Well, Mom must have whipped up a low-cal diet, because Jose Ribalta came in at 211 pounds. He told us the expected rate to come in at 219. It could be the humidity. It's been very, very hot here.
Well, it's been very, very hot. In fact, I saw his fight with Frazier, and he's asking for problems because Tyson comes in, tenacious style, stays in your chest, and throws a lot harder punches than Marvis Frazier.
Well, here's Jose Ribalta's moment in the sun. He's won his last 4 fights, all by knockout, but he was knocked down in one of them by David Jaco, who incidentally Mike Tyson KO'd in 1 round. It does appear that Ribalta is warmed up. He's had problems in the early rounds, and of course against Mike Tyson, that's suicide.
Well, he has to be warmed up against Mike Tyson. Tyson quite naturally goes directly at his opponent. He goes to war.
We asked him about Mike Tyson, what he thinks of him. He said he's just another fella. He's not as good as Bone Crusher Smith. He said he's just got the media behind him.
There's an interesting look here. I see that Jose Ribalta does not have socks on, and that's that's the style of Mike Tyson.
That is the trademark of Mike Tyson. Black shoes, no socks, black trunks.
The difference is that while Tyson is sockless from his knees down, he's not sockless from his elbows out. The one thing that this young man does have going for him is that he comes from a fighting background. 2 brothers who were fighters, one of whom fought Teofilo Stevenson in Cuba 3 times. He himself started very young, was a top amateur. And I mention this because it's going to take somebody who can maintain his poise in the eye of that hurricane that Tyson creates to be able to fight at all. If you freeze, forget it, it's over. You've got to be able to maintain your poise before anything else.
Well, you have the feeling we will find out in a very, very big hurry. You are looking at the face of a man with a very big hill to climb. His opponent, meanwhile, is a throwback, an amateur historian who envisions himself in the ring against Jack Dempsey and Joe Louis and Rocky Marciano. Mike Tyson's roots are in the past, it seems. Even to his taste in music. Nothing blaring, no heavy metal, just Sam Cooke. Out of the 50s and 60s and into the 80s, courtesy of Mike Tyson, who feels Sam Cooke motivates him. You send me the music here, and of course that's exactly what he hopes to do to Jose Ribalta, who now plays the waiting game in the ring, waiting for Mike Tyson. And I've never seen a guy. Ray and Larry and I sat in Mike Tyson's room last night for probably about an hour talking to the guy. He's calm, he's mild-mannered, he's laughing and giggling with him. But I'll tell you, when it comes to do business, as he comes into color from the past to the present, and Mike Tyson does business.
Yeah, and I can't help but be reminded, listening to that music, that when Muhammad Ali pulled off one of the staggering upsets of boxing history and he beat Sonny Liston in Miami, where this young man comes from, the challenger tonight, the opponent, as it were, the first thing Ali did was rush to the ring and start yelling, "Sam, Sam, did I shock the world?" And it was Sam Cooke.
Sam Cooke would roll over in his grave.
The impression that Mike Tyson makes in the ring is, I'm not here to look good, I'm here to be good.
And Jose Ribalta just looked at him like, as if to say, oh my. There's the record of Mike Tyson. Impressive. You know, George Benton, who was in Marvis Frazier's corner before that fight, said the way to beat Mike Tyson is to throw a lot of punches, to keep busy, to keep boxing. But when we talked to Tyson last night, he said, and he said it very simply, very understated like he does, at some point you got to stop throwing punches. So Mike Tyson, taught, of course, by Customato. His story has been told ad nauseum, I think. Came out of the Tyson School for Boys, one of the most incorrigible places to be. Learned 4 years of reading skills in the space of 6 months. He's very, very dedicated. Here's a look at the tail of the tape, and of course the only number that jumps out at you is the number on reach. But it was Angelo Dundee who said, don't give me height and reach, give me a guy who can fight.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's overstated about Tyson is his height, which is, I think, closer to 5'9" than 5'11 3/4.
It is true there's a lot of hype about the man, but despite the fact of all the hype, he seems to be able to live up to the clippings, Larry.
And here's our punch stat, our statistical toy to give you a quantitative look at the fight. Interesting thing about Tyson is he throws those 45 punches around, and they're all mean, hard punches. None of that, those probing little jabs. Ribalta's numbers are so different because the two fighters he fought had such different styles, and so what he does will obviously be dictated by what Tyson does. There are the body punches that Tyson has thrown. As you see, Quick Tillis, who did fight him like a knuckleball, was able to stay away from him. Jose Ribalta, there you see the numbers of jabs he threw in his two fights with recognizable opponents.
Let us then take a look at the rules here in New Jersey. The scoring is by rounds. The 3 knockdown rule will be in effect, much to the chagrin, I'm sure, of Jose Ribalta. There is a mandatory standing 8 count. You can only be saved for the bell in the final round, and the ring doctor can, in fact, stop the fight. So those are the New Jersey rules. Let's get to the ring announcer, Marvin Goldberg, now for the introduction of the fighters.
Tonight's boxing program is presented by Trump Plaza Casino in association with Frank Gell Promotions and sanctioned by the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board, Chairman Jerry Gormley and Commissioner Larry Hazard. The judges are John Stewart, Rich Strange, and Phil Newman. Timekeeper Roosevelt Gilbert, ring physician Frank Doggett, Paul Williams, and Charles Wilson. Counting for the knockdown, Frank Papacino, and the referee for this 10-round bout, Rudy Battle. In the red corner, from Miami Beach, Florida, with a record of 23 and 3/16 by knockout, wearing white straps with a red trim, weighing 211.5 pounds, Jose Nino Ribalta. And in the blue corner. Undefeated in 25 bouts, 23 by knockout from the Catskills, New York, wearing black trunks, weighing 213 and a half, Mike Tyson. 10 rounds.
When I tell you to break, I want you both to stop punching, step back, protecting yourselves at all times. Remember, a foul can cost you the round. Mandatory 8 count is in effect. Watch your low blows and watch the holding and hitting. Any questions here? All right, I want a clean contest. Good luck to both of you. Let's shake hands.
Okay, don't anybody go to the toilet or the refrigerator. Mike Tyson has short working hours. He punches in and punches out.
And the battle upstairs was a draw. Now what happens remains to be seen. Pat Putnam of Sports Illustrated probably put it best. Tyson has the anticipation of a Doberman who's happened upon 210 pounds of unguarded meat.
Just as expected, Tyson is right in the chest of Ribalta. Ribalta has problems with Marvis Frazier. Couldn't keep him off. And what he's going to have to do against the style of a Mike Tyson is to tie him up when he's inside, not to try to exchange punch for punch. He can't do that.
And that was a right hand by Tyson that at least got the attention of Ribalta.
You notice the way that Tyson's working the body. Stays very close to his opponent. I've been impressed with the way that Tyson has developed as a fighter.
A left hand knocks Ribalta off balance.
What it's going to take to beat a Mike Tyson, Barry, is you're going to have a good jab, mobility, you have to throw combination, you have to have it all. And a lot of heart.
Well, he said the only film he watched was that of the quick Tillis fight, and he hopes to emulate what Tillis did. Of course, when we talked to Tyson, he said, I don't mean to take anything away from Tillis, but if I were to fight him again tomorrow, I'd knock him out in one round.
That was a pretty good move by Ribalta. He was able to tie up Mike Tyson. Cases like this, you notice he's tying him up, not giving Tyson any punching room. And he has to keep those hands very high. Ribalta has to keep those hands up at all times.
Big right hand again, but Ribalta stays right there, holds on. Took a pretty good shot that time.
You notice that Tyson also is starting to wing his punch, especially to the body. I think with the height advantage, he has to go downstairs first, stay downstairs, and bring those hands down of Ribalta. Because those punches that Tyson throws, it's going to take a great deal of wearing down on a tall man like Ribalta. Tyson throws some vicious shots to the body.
Let him go. Get off the back of his head. Clean him.
Again, just tremendous body shots, and what an uppercut. But Ribalta does not appear to be hurt by it.
All right, great for him. Nice and clean.
That uppercut stood Ribalta straight up.
All right, great. Watch your head. Step back. Nice and clean.
Well, this fight already is guaranteed to go longer than 15 of Tyson's first 25 fights. Impressive thing about Ribalta there was he did maintain his poise.
You gotta bang away right inside. You gotta stick like this. When you get close, he just wants to grab you. You gotta keep your defense tight. Bring him up, you understand? He's a good hard shot, a real hard shot. You win in the fight easy, you understand? But you're a little lazy. It looks like you're a little lazy. Turn the intensity up, you understand? Yeah. You did jab hard jab. You can beat yourself with a jab alone. Whenever you get inside, you use the pipe, keep your hands in punch and punch. Rip him right up, rip him up to the body, rip his body. You just miss him with the truth. But you
Double your jabs up, go for it, listen to me, will you? Come on,
¿Estás bien? Oh, tranquilo. Okay.
Double your jab up, Jose. Go across you, you're throwing too high, man. Let's go.
Sereno. Haga su boxeo, okay?
Somebody in Ribalta's corner does have confidence. I understand they made a significant bet before the fight, taking 7-to-1 odds.
They didn't get enough. Kevin Rooney in Tyson's corner saying, keep the jab down. Luis de Cuba, Ribalta's trainer, said his man is tough after the first round, so now we'll see.
You notice the uppercut that Ribalta threw. Those are the type of punches that are effective against a guy like Tyson. But you got to time it. At all times, attempting to throw that kind of shot is dangerous because one thing about Tyson, he has speed, puts a lot of velocity behind his punches, a great deal of power.
Ribalta being somewhat effective with the jab.
There's the uppercut again. And once again, Barry, you notice he's tying this man up, not allowing Mike Tyson to work his body.
I break you left, you hold up, you hold up. That's it, nice and clean. I break, hold up, watch your head, nice and clean.
Well, it's an interesting technique, Ray, because he's not running like Green did or staying away like Tillis did. He's
watch your head in there.
fighting a little bit of a different tactic.
Well, Ribalta stated that he needs to try to make, or he wants rather, to make Tyson respect him. I see a mistake that Ribalta is making. He's throwing his jab, and at times it lands, but you notice the way that it comes back. It comes back slow, and it drops. So a counter right hand by Mike Tyson is inviting.
And there was an uppercut. What a shot.
You don't see that happen. A guy gets knocked down with an uppercut. Very seldom, it's a rarity.
And literally took him off the ground. It really did. Ribalta trying to bang with Tyson and gets off the ropes.
Ribalta's in tremendous shape to get out from that punch. Watch the right hand, Barry. It is so inviting.
Turn him loose, let him go.
Tyson's body punches are absolutely devastating. There's a good left to the chin.
Here I am.
What's clear from that round is that Ribalta is a professional fighter. He's a survivor, took a very good punch, got up, knew how to survive the round, punched back when he was in trouble.
Take a deep breath, deep breath.
There's the punch, terrific uppercut. The reason, or one of the reasons that Tyson has such punching power is that he always stays in punching range of his opponent. He's on top of him, so that those kinds of punches will frequently hit an opponent without the opponent seeing the punch, and those are the punches that do the most damage. There it is. Never saw it coming. Stunned him, but he got up and he went on, to his credit. The issue now is to watch how Michael Tyson is going to try to chop down a fellow who is a good professional journeyman.
This is the third round, and you wouldn't have found a lot of smart money saying that it would go this far.
Nice and clean.
You watch the way that Mike Tyson works that body. It's a thing of beauty. Very short, executed shots to the midsection, to the ribs.
When you sit ringside, Tyson's punches even sound differently than his opponents. His body shots are so hard, there's a distinctly different sound to them.
The reason being, Barry, is because he pronates that fist, that glove, and he's punching very, very clean, very clean.
We'll just sit back and let you listen a little bit. See if you can tell the difference in the sound of Tyson's punches.
Are you wrestling? Bring him loose. Back to me. Hold up. Watch your head. Nice and clean. All right, it's great. You're holding. Nice and clean. Break your hand. Turn them loose. Both of them. Let's go.
Three good examples right there, and then the uppercut behind it.
All right, hold up. You wrestle. Let him loose. Let him go. Step back. Nice and clean. Step back.
Left hand.
No. All right, break your side up. Let him go. Step back. All right, break. You're holding and hitting. Step back. Let him go. Nice and clean. All right, break. Hold up, Mike. Hold up. Let him go. You're holding. Turn him loose.
Tyson looked at Ribalta at the end of that round as if to say, what are you still doing here?
Get on your toes and start moving, Jose.
Game plan's on now, baby.
Start boxing. I need him. Don't be going into the road.
They've been telling Ribalta in his corner to try to stay in the middle of the ring, and he did stay off the ropes more in that round. Take a look at some of these body shots. I wonder if there's more than 10 or 15 people on the planet who could live through those shots. And that, of course, is the excitement that Tyson creates. That all of us watching these who are not professional heavyweights certainly know that our chances of survival in a confined space for this man are slim and none and slim left town.
Fourth round, getting into the category of who to thunk it.
No holding. All right, break. You're holding in here. Step back. Nice and clean.
We will remind you that Harold Letterman, our official, unofficial judge here on HBO, is scoring the fight for us. And I'm not even sure he brought a pencil.
One thing about Ribalta, he is not intimidated. He is not intimidated. In fact, the last round, Ribalta's corner told him, say, hey, game plan is starting to work now. Either they want Tyson to punch himself out, which is not going to happen, or they want him to get careless.
Are you holding it?
And Ribalta's body's I tell you, it's in fabulous shape because he's taking some devastating shots from Tyson.
Well, he has been more effective in the later rounds, so I'm sure that's the thinking of his corner, is if he gets by 4 or 5, he will get stronger. He got stronger against Bone Crusher Smith after being knocked out in the first round. Lost a split decision that most everyone feels he won.
Up here I am. Let him go. Wait, stop punching me.
Tyson's always in your chest. Stays very close to his opponents. Ribalta's been trying to throw some straight right hands. Right? It's not going to work. The type of punch is going to work on Mike Tyson is the uppercuts. You got to bring him under because Tyson has that bob and weave style.
Ribalta got himself in trouble on the ropes again.
All right, let him go. Yeah, you rest. Watch your head. Watch your heads in there. Turn him loose. Stop hold. Stop hold. All right. You rest. Turn him loose. Nice and clean.
Tyson just turned southpaw.
Both those punches were caught on the gloves of Ribalta, incidentally. Although I would think Tyson could even hurt you on the gloves.
Stop hold. You caught him. All right, stop punching. Both of them. Let him go. Stop holding.
Lunging left hand by Tyson. The right hand was a little short.
Here I am. Stop punching. Get off him. Let him go.
Other right hand partially caught on the gloves.
Keep the punching going.
I think we're getting to that point where the catch-22 that Tyson has created has come into focus. I'll talk about that in a moment after Harold. You tell us how you scored this fight.
Well, Larry, I've got the first 4 rounds for Mike Tyson. Based on the 4 points in which we scored, a clean punching. Mike is all over him, blending the clean hard shots, the effective aggressiveness, the ring generalship. He takes him up on the ropes. Interestingly enough, for defense, Hosea Ribalta seems to be holding. That's his basic defense. You know, he's just trying to tire Mike up by holding him.
It's a survival tactic. But getting back to what I was saying before, this catch-22, if he knocks this fellow out in a round or 2, everybody says he just knocked out another bum. When's he going to fight somebody? And if the fight goes longer, everybody says, well, maybe he's not quite that good. But he is in there with a professional. He is dominating the fight. And again, the point right now is to see whether Tyson can sustain his fury and cut this big man down.
And I think when you look at the fights that Tyson has taken to a decision, save the Tillis fight, he pitched a virtual shutout against Green. And according to Harold Letterman, he's pitching one here. He lost 1 round against Mitch Green.
Just for your information, Ray, his corner told Ribalta between rounds, okay, now you can start to dominate the fight.
I think that's long overdue, Larry. In fact, Ribalta's been giving away rounds, especially inside. You notice that Tyson throws a great deal of body shots. Starting to slow down Ribalta.
That was an uppercut by Ribalta, and Tyson right back with 2 shots to the body. Ribalta getting off the quicker punches there.
When those guys stand toe-to-toe like this just a second ago and exchange punches, I have a funny suspicion that Tyson's punch is going to get there first. You notice when Ribalta throws his uppercut, his chin is wide open. He is so susceptible to the right hand.
Here I am. Watch your head. Step back. Stop holding. Let him go.
You notice how he throws his punches, Bird. He drops the other hand.
Ribalta seems to have lost maybe a half step here. You know, and again, Ray, the thing about Tyson is he just never seems to let his opponent catch his breath.
Well, he never lets up. He keeps that momentum. He's like a train, locomotive.
Right hand by Ribalta. But he pays the price for every right hand he throws.
This is
Ribalta's legs he seems to be a little more stiff-legged. He doesn't seem to have much bounce.
But he wasn't just trying to survive in that round. He was trying to land something. He's trying to fight. And I give him credit for that. Combination.
More than 1 point.
Michael, what's happening? When the fight, he was sticking the joint out. Get in there and throw some combinations. They just start adding it. With the fight, not throwing a punch with any bad intention. There's no bad intention. It's 1 punch at a time. Only 1 punch at a time.
You're getting one?
Hey, Ref, what's the hold?
What Kevin Rooney just said to Mike Tyson was, Mike, you're sticking the joint out. You're throwing 1 punch at a time, and you're not throwing them with enough bad intentions. Bad intentions mean intentions, an old saying of Customato. Let's see if Tyson can step it up here.
You know what's frustrating Mike Tyson is the clinching, the tying up that Ribalta has been doing from the very first round. It's a good move on his part, mainly because he's not allowing Tyson to get his punches off as much as he wants to.
We have a Spanish interpreter, and what he tells us went on in Ribalta's corner after that round, during that timeout, was that they told him that Tyson has never been in a fight as tough as this. Now start to pressure him. I don't know if he can pressure him, but I think the corner man who said that is absolutely right.
Yeah, because unlike Tillis or Green, as he mentioned, Ribalta is staying in the fight.
Ribalta has staying power. I mean, no one expects too much from Ribalta.
It's a combination from Ribalta and also a low blow by Ribalta.
The guy has a chin. Ribalta has a good chin. And that's what's been saving him thus far. I think what Mike Tyson will have to do is slow down or either stop Ribalta to catch him in his tracks. Catch him while Ribalta's attempting to throw one of those looping uppercuts.
Oh, no. You rest.
And also, like Tyson's corner said, got to throw more punches. Rather than 1 punch.
Tyson just missing that uppercut.
All right, break, Ryan. Let him loose. Let him go. Step back. All right, you're wrestling. Let him go. Step back. Let him loose. Watch your head.
Ribalta has taken some very good shots from Mike Tyson. Hasn't let Tyson double up as much as Mike would like to, or as Kevin Rooney in his corner would like him to. That was a good left hand.
Ribalta's fighting back. He's holding his own right now.
I think Tyson is a little frustrated because he hasn't been in a fight like this before, a fight that wasn't an early knockout and in which his opponent continued to really fight back. So we're going to see if Tyson learned anything from his decisions, his previous 10-round decisions, and whether he can sustain it. Harold, how's the fight scored now?
Well, Barry, I've got it 5-1 in favor of Mike Tyson. I gave the 6th round to Jose Ribalta mainly because Mike Tyson didn't throw a lot of punches and Jose did throw some punches and did land some punches. I think Jose's picking up the pace, as you said, a little, and certainly he's getting in some punches, and I think he takes a tremendous rap and he's holding his own.
A very succinct and accurate analysis. And I think now, Ray, people are going to start to ask, is that vaunted punching power of Mike Tyson going to be able to take out the big, tough heavyweights who he hasn't fought yet?
I think so. I think the style of Ribalta is creating a few problems for Mike Tyson. Maybe it's the height advantage. But Ribalta's been doing the right thing. He's tying his man up. He's not allowing Mike Tyson to get off.
He still is not seen, as Larry mentioned, the bigger heavyweights, the Burbicks at 227 or the Witherspoons at 230 or so. Remember, Ribalta is only 211.
But he's rangy. I think his style creates problems for a guy like Mike Tyson. Tyson also, like his corner once again stated, he has to throw more than one punch. He has worked both hands.
Another thing to mention is that Mike Tyson has never knocked out an opponent after the 6th round, so there's some new territory here for Tyson.
Keep him up. Keep the punches up. Both of them. All right, turn him loose. Stop pushing behind the head. Keep it clean in there. Let's go. All right, break the ground. Turn him loose. Let him go. Let him go. You're holding in there, you're holding. Okay. Okay.
They must have been studying a lot of films on Mike Tyson because he's fighting the right way. Every time Tyson gets close to his chest, tie him up and push his head down.
Well, Luis de Cuba said the only film they watched was the one of Tillis.
All right, break. Let him go.
And of course, Tyson went 10 rounds with Quick Tillis.
Let him go. Step back.
There was some tape that's hanging down what it was on the left glove of Ribalta.
There was a big right hand, and that hurt Ribalta.
Break. Let him go. Let him go. Stop it. Don't hit him on the break.
But again, Ribalta showing a good chin. He was hurt, no question about it.
Get off. Step back. Nice and clean. Let him go. Right, you hold both of them.
Tyson went back to his corner like a mournful student who hadn't done his job, didn't know the verbs.
Double jabs, man. You gotta start double jabbing.
Here's Tyson at work on the ropes, and there's that big right hand. But Ribalta came right back. I imagine Tim Witherspoon is out there somewhere, and Mr. Burbick saying, my goodness, how hard does he hit? Quick exchange to start this, the 8th round.
Come on, nice and clean. Step back. Let him loose. Let him go.
Crowd taking up a chant of Jose.
Break. Get off the back.
The crowd is fickle, I see.
Well, they're appreciating initiative of what has been a rugged battle on the part of, can't say the challenger because it's not a championship fight, but the decided underdog, Jose Ribalta. And Jose got the worst of that one. The mouthpiece goes, and Tyson is on top of him. Ribalta ties him up.
Step back. Step back.
Ribalta appears to be wearing down now, Barry.
He's still got a long way to go in this 8th round, halfway. There's a big right hand, and Ribalta is about to go. Ties him up again, showing a lot of moxie.
Look at Ribalta's legs. They're shot. There's no spring in his legs. This is all instinct.
Body shot and an uppercut again. Ribalta taking a lot of punishment in this round. And another big right hand. Back to the body.
Let him go. Let him go. Step back.
And still there are 50 seconds remaining in the round.
His mouthpiece has been knocked out, so quite naturally he's looking for a broken jaw here because he's getting straight up too, Barry. There is no spring.
And there's a smashing left hand. And wisely, Tony Battle will send Tyson to a neutral corner. That was very smart on the part of the referee because Ribalta's arms were locked in the ropes.
Let him loose. Let him go. Let him go. Watch your head.
And Tyson has not finished his man off. Ribalta is still there.
An impressive round for Mike Tyson on a number of scores, mainly because he's shown that even late in the fight now he can summon the energy and the fury, which he didn't know he could do before he went 10 rounds a couple of times in the spring.
The most important thing right now, be quiet, quiet. Relax. Get shit together, relax. Don't be excited, understand? Relax.
Let's take a look at Tyson work. There's a nice uppercut, followed by a good 2-punch combination and 2 rights. And there goes the mouthpiece all the way down to the casino. Later on in the round, it looked like he knocked something else out of his mouth, and it wasn't a mouthpiece, and I hate to even think about what it was. Most fighters' knockouts against good fighters are by attrition, not by just one big punch somewhere early in a fight. And Tyson has been wearing down a game opponent, and we'll see if he can wear him all the way down.
And Ribalta's going to have to muster some legs from someplace because they're not under him right now.
All right, you hold. Yeah, turn him loose. Turn him loose. Let him go. Nice and clean.
The legs of Ribalta are still not there yet. The spring is left.
Here I am. You hold him and hit him.
His best bet is to continue to do what he's doing now. That's tie his man up.
Oh, another big left hand.
Oh, his leg.
And he's out. He's really out. And just on top of Mike Tyson. And Tony Battle will have to take a long look here.
A right hand just zinged by the chin of Ribalta.
It's only a question of time now.
Let him go. Let him go. Step back. Step back.
Look at the hands. Look at that left hand of Ribalta. Watch for a straight right hand from Mike Tyson or the uppercut.
And a long, long way to go here in the 9th round.
That's the right hand, Barry. Again, the left hand of Ribalta is steady dropping. He's still dazed. He's tired. And now that Tyson, all he wants to do is counter.
Tyson's really taking his time here, measuring his shots. Actually walked into the left hand of Ribalta's.
Tyson rushed himself. Got a little anxious for a second there. All he has to do is take his time, give a couple of head feints, and drop that right hand.
Let him go. Let him go.
He lets Ribalta get off the hook.
Tyson getting a little bit careless, it seems, here.
Well, he got a little anxious for a while there, Barry. He has to just pick his shots. I think he's surprised that Ribalta is still standing, because Ribalta was hurt a number of times.
Let him go, let him go, let him go. Stop punching. Come on, step back.
10 seconds remaining here in the 9th round, and it appears as if Jose Ribalta will survive yet another storm. The lion doesn't always get the antelope.
Spit that out, spit it out.
Pero ¿sabes con qué? Con el upper de derecha aquí, al pecho. Upper de derecha hasta el fondo. Sí, tiene que reventarlo con la hombre, tiene que ir a ñaca. Tú, güey, tienes que acabar, brother. Aquí salimos. Uno de los dos salen los viejos, José. Come on, go.
Ready now?
Last round, we touched it up in the center.
Let them break them box, man. Just in and out, in and out. Last round, don't let them get brave on you, understand?
I don't know if this fight makes Ribalta a star in Miami, but he's earned some respect. No question about it. He's not run. He's not just tried to survive. He's tried to fight the man.
Nice and clean last round. Nice and clean.
He actually caught Tyson with an uppercut. Took 2 punches in return, but he did catch him with an uppercut. Only the 3rd time that Tyson has been asked to go the limit here. Did it against Tillis, did it against Green, but Green ran from it. And Tillis tried to stay out of harm's way pretty much. Jose Ribalta has fought it. Showing its both appreciation and support for Jose Ribalta. Oh, what a shot! And Ribalta's down. He is up, but he is in some trouble.
Oh, he's seriously hurt this time, though.
Hey, how you doing? You want to continue? Yeah. Okay.
Oh. So do you want to continue? He said, yeah, hell yeah. That's a fighter. Say that there was no way Ribalta could win the fight, but I think the official was wrong for stopping it. He had come back from those punches before. There's no reason to believe that he couldn't have survived that round. Well, a tough way to go down to defeat by Jose Ribalta. But once again, he's a case of another fighter who probably made more friends by losing this fight to Mike Tyson than he has in his previous 22 victories.
Well, if anything, Barry, he gained a great deal of respect from the boxing public. I mean, he stood there for 10 rounds with a vicious punch that looked like Mike Tyson.
Let's take another look, Ray, at the end of it all. Big left hand there. That put Ribalta down.
Well, Ribalta held his own. I was surprised and very impressed with the fact that he was able to really deal with the pressure of a Mike Tyson. He clinched, he tied Mike Tyson up, never allowed Mike Tyson to really get off some good, clean punches until the later rounds. Here, Tyson with that aggressive style and working the left hook. He was able to hurt Ribalta a number of times, but Ribalta maintained his composure, very poised, and was able to retaliate with some punches of his own.
And Tony Battle stepping in and saying, that's it, that's enough, after asking him the first time, and Ribalta's reply being, yes, hell yes, I want to go on. Here's a look at Jose Ribalta sitting on a stool and just kind of taking it easy here. Long night against a guy like Tyson, whose punches are just so damaging. Overall, your impressions of Mike Tyson tonight, Ray?
Well, I thought Mike Tyson fought a very interesting fight, mainly because of the style of Ribalta. Quite naturally, Ribalta's camp really did their stud homework and saw something that was able to frustrate Mike Tyson. That was to clinch, tie him up, not let him get his punches off, and work on some uppercuts.
So you probably will hear from this man again, Jose Ribalta. Chances are he will get a shot at some of the other heavyweights around. Doesn't really want to see this man around, who looks like he's just had a walk in the park, actually. Let's look at some of the numbers from our punch stat statistics and see if we can give you an idea of how this fight went, at least from a statistical point of view. Tyson, and you would expect the fact that he landed more than twice the punches that Ribalta did. Tyson's always right on top of his man. That's what he did tonight, too. No secrets with Mike Tyson, landing 68% of his punches, and that's pretty effective.
He threw a lot of punches, and especially with the style of Tyson, bobbing and weaving, staying low, it's pretty difficult to land those kind of punches.
And Ribalta just was unable to jab effectively. I can't really say, at least I wouldn't think that had a great effect on the outcome of the fight, but 24% effectiveness on the jabs of Ribalta, and 8 out of 10 for Mike Tyson.
Well, they insisted upon Ribalta to throw more left jabs. Ribalta made a mistake of throwing a jab here, a jab there. It would take a lot of jabs to keep Mike Tyson off balance there.
All right, let's get the official decision then from the ring announcer, Marvin Goldberg. Marvin?
The time, 1 minute and 37 seconds of the 10th round. Referee stops the bout, winner by TKO, Mike Tyson. Let's give a big hand for Jose Ribalta. A big hand for Jose Ribalta.
So we have the official cards in front of us here of how this fight would have been scored through 9 rounds. Phil Newman, one of the judges, gave Mike Tyson every round, so Tyson pitched a shutout in his eyes. Rich Strange, the other official, gave Ribalta 2 rounds. He gave him the 5th, and he gave him the 7th round. And John Stewart, the 3rd official, gave only the 7th round to Ribalta. So again, Mike Tyson pretty much dominating the fight.
Well, Ribalta pretty much, he didn't do anything in the earlier rounds, whereas that Mike Tyson was able to dominate. The later rounds, 5th, 6th round, that's when you saw a different Ribalta, more aggressive Ribalta. I think Ribalta was able to establish some respect in Mike Tyson.
What do you suppose people like Trevor Berbick or Witherspoon or even Pinklin Thomas, who was here in the audience tonight, have to think about Mike Tyson after watching this performance?
What happens, Barry? They see what particular punch that's been landing frequently against Mike Tyson, the uppercut or whatnot, it's the grabbing, clinching, or the left jab, and they would try to concentrate and work on those areas there.
Was there something for Mike Tyson to learn in a fight like tonight where he had to go 10 tough rounds against a guy that you had to figure he was going to beat easily?
I think this is a good fight for Mike Tyson. Ribalta's not an easy guy to beat. I mean, he's tall, he's rangy, and he's not directly in front of you at all times. He throws punches, has a lot of heart to it.
But the simple fact is, Jose Ribalta is not in the class of a Tim Witherspoon or a Trevor Berbick or any of the current champions, Michael Spinks. They're perhaps a notch above him, and he struggled with this guy tonight.
Well, you also have to look at the fact that Ribalta, this is a big opportunity, televised fight, and the fact he was able to rise to the occasion. So there's a few factors there.
Does the fact that he was 6 foot 6 inches tall, not big in terms of weight, 211, but big in terms of height, do you feel have any effect on Tyson?
I believe so, but I think the fact that because Mike Tyson had to actually reach up and get closer to Ribalta, because Ribalta's 6'6", it took away some of the leverage in his punches.
All right, let's get up to Larry Merchant now, who's in the center of the ring at the winner, Mike Tyson. Larry?
Thank you. Congratulations, Mike. This guy was a tougher nut to crack than you thought, I bet.
Very enough. He had his mind concentrated. He was going to fight, and he did well, and I commend him very dearly.
What made him so tough? The fact that he fought back, unlike the other fighters who've taken you this far?
Most definitely, he fought back, and he had the idea in his mind he wasn't going to get knocked out. But as you notice, he was knocked down, but wasn't knocked out, because he had his mind conscious of that.
Well, why, if you knocked him down the second round, the 8th round, why couldn't you finish him?
Well, he was hurt pretty bad, and those are the breaks. I couldn't finish him.
Were you disappointed? I know that Kevin Rooney, your trainer, was saying after about the 5th or 6th round, he's saying, you're stinking out the joint.
Well, he was true. He was telling me that to motivate me. And like I say, these things happens to everybody.
You feel like a pupil at that point who was flunking and that you had to try to get an A?
Not at all. I just feel I had a bad night. These things happen.
Are there too many expectations of you, Mike? Do you think that if you don't, you're in a bind, that if you don't knock him out early, if you knock him out early, everybody says the other guy was a bum. If it goes this far, everybody says you can't hit that hard.
Well, what can I say? This happens.
Are you anxious in this case because of the momentum you've created for yourself in your career to get on to some, quote, named fighters, top fighters, champions, and so on?
Well, most definitely I put a lot of pressure on myself, but what can I say? As I told you before, he was a tough fighter, and you don't knock everybody out. The greatest fighters in the world, I saw them. They won and they lost, and they got stunk out. Robinson got stunk out by the fighter named Frazier, who Johnny Bratton knocked out. And of the various fighters, it wasn't nowhere near the caliber of Robinson.
So you're satisfied the way it came out in the end?
Most definitely.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Now I want to talk to Jimmy Jacobs, who is Mike Tyson's co-manager. Mike, Jimmy, you are Jimmy. Jimmy, first, your assessment of this fight. It looked like an easy fight. It wasn't.
Well, I never thought it was going to be an easy fight, Larry. Actually, I'm not as critical as most of the people will be after this fight. The other fella, as you noticed, held and held and held. Actually, I don't think that the scoring, I don't think they'll give Ribalta 1 round.
Well, they did. One official gave him 2 rounds. Okay, now let's go on to this.
Yes.
What is next? Are you going to enter the HBO Don King Heavyweight Championship Series, or are you going to go another route?
We have had very serious negotiations with the HBO people and Don King. And right now we're going to be meeting with them at the beginning of the week. The negotiations have been very serious, not only on our part, but on their part. So consequently, I imagine the answer would come in the middle of, probably in the middle of the week.
Can you just between you and me, Jim?
Yeah, no one else.
No one else. Are you leaning one way or the other?
Yes, absolutely. We're leaning towards the HBO series of fights. I've always felt that HBO, in unifying the heavyweight championship, is doing the greatest favor in the world for boxing. As a boxing historian, I'm indebted to HBO for doing that.
And we're indebted to you for telling us that, Jimmy. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Let me say this about Mike Tyson. He generally comes into these fights as though he doesn't want to miss the 11 o'clock news. He doesn't want to miss the clips of his knockout at around 11:15 or 11:20 on the sports news. Tonight he was extended a bit. But I think, as we all saw, having seen him against Tillis and Green earlier, that tonight he sustained it, came on in the end, and did his job. As I said at some moment along the way, most fights end as a matter of an attrition, and then later in the fight, after wearing down an opponent, you stop him. Mike Tyson has created this catch-22 for himself. He's created a kind of media whirlwind by his own precocity, and there is a kind of dilemma. Earlier on, Jimmy Jacobs wanted to wait until sometimes early next year, have another 5, 8, or 10 fights, but there's almost no holding Mike Tyson back now. But when and if he does get into this tournament and does fight a Trevor Berbick or a Tim Witherspoon, I think there will still be some doubts about whether he is really ready for that class of competition and whether he is good enough. And that's good. We'll find out what Mike Tyson is made of. And now he'll have to go back and catch the news tomorrow morning. Back to you, Barry and Ray.
Scheduled for 10, but don't go away. Tyson does not throw wild punches. Big left hook. And there is Sam down. 3, 4. The count is 5. For the rest of the year. 6. The count is 7. This one's over. Awesome is an overused word in the 1980s, but Mike Tyson is absolutely awesome. Just sit back and watch, but don't blink, because you could miss it. A low right from Young.
Is doing at this point what I think he should have been doing from the first foot. He just took a right down. And now he's switching for a moment to the southpaw stance and starts to rock 2 right hooks off Tyson's head. There is a solid shot.
Reggie doesn't look down an awful lot of power. Throwing a lot of punches, but not landing too much. That time he landed one, and the left hook drops into the canvas. Hits the power of Mike Tyson.
Welcome back to international boxing and to a man who is taking the heavyweight scene by storm in the United States. Mike Tyson is almost into the heavyweight unification series. At 20, he has an awesome undefeated record of 26 fights, 24 of which were KOs, and was set to face Trevor Berbick for the WBC title in November if he could win his fight earlier today against the former world cruiserweight champion, Alfonzo Ratliff. Ratliff, at 6 feet 5 inches, could be an awkward customer. Ratliff's been in with some very impressive men too, but he suffered 3 defeats, and he's been knocked out by 2 world champions, Tim Witherspoon in 1981 and Pinklon Thomas in 1983. Now let's see if Tyson can produce his most explosive form in the scheduled 10-rounder, commentary by Reg Guthridge.
So the staring from Alfonzo Ratliff, I must say, you notice that height there, 6'5". What an advantage. Davey Pearl, local referee.
Well, then you better get out, Phil. Come on. Now, listen to me now. Listen to me again, will you, Alonzo? Look at me. Look at me now, damn it. I want to talk to you. Remember what we said. Keep the fight clean, everything will be cool. First guy that messes up, it's going to cost him. Shake hands now, good luck to you.
Well, very firm indeed, isn't he there, referee Davey Pearl? And there's the rundown again. 10 years, of course, in age and quite a bit in height there, as you can see. And indeed, 20 pounds difference in the weight. Alfonzo Ratliff, former WBC cruiserweight champion of the world now. Can he score yet another one-round win or not here, Mike Tyson? He's had 15, remember, from 26. But Ratliff has been talking a very good fight, I must say. He's been putting Tyson down quite a bit. And he just rolled in the ring there, Tyson, a real old gladiator. No socks, no robe, no fuss. Didn't even acknowledge the crowd. Let's get down to business. It's all he wants to do. So there it is, the man with the red stripes on his trunk's going to be on his bike for quite a while, use his height and indeed speed, it would seem, to keep out of the way of this man, because he's a bit dangerous at any time of the fight, but particularly at the start. Knocked over Marvis Frazier in 30 seconds. Oh, referee Davey Pearl clapping hands there and saying, come on, let's go. He doesn't want the hit and hop stuff from Ratliff, but that's the first punch he's nailed him. The crowd knew it, and Ratliff knew it. Oh, he's done him with a left hook to start with. And, no. I don't know why he's not calling that a knockdown, really. It was a slip, but he also tripped over a left hook, I thought.
he talks well, Ratliff, but he's not doing much in this round, is he? Except run for his life, not that I can blame him. Most exciting fighter to hit the heavyweight scene with a minute to go in the opening round then. Really means business now that he's got this chance of being in this knockout series to unify the championship of the world. That's all he knows. He knows how to stalk fighters the whole time, Tyson. Cut that ring size down a bit.
Turn him loose.
Turn him loose. Well, that's a good thing to say about any fighter there. It sounds like open the cage, really, doesn't it? One or two people are saying, well, we've got to see Mike Tyson take a shot, but with the size of that neck, 19 inches, it's really bolted onto the shoulders. I'm sure he could take a punch all right. Well, strictly a survival round there by Alfonzo Ratliff. And there's Tyson. And the rundown with the statistics. That's Kevin Rooney in the corner. So that's quite obvious to cut that ring down. That means he's got to cut the corners off, stop him running. Just a little bit. So,
Don't go one punch at a time. Cut the ring down, cut them down the right way. You understand? Your palm, cut them down with your palm a little bit. Cut them down, put the angle down quick. That's it, you're doing good, though. Right?
There it is. Been beaten actually by Tim Witherspoon and Pinklon Thomas. They were full heavyweights. And he fought on the Bruno Witherspoon bill at Wembley last July, defeating Stanley Ross. But a fight to forget as far as Ratliff was concerned. So out for the second round then, scheduled for 10. And he has had the experience now a couple of times, Tyson, of going 10 rounds. In fact, more than 3 times to be exact. No, that's right. It went to the last round, Mitchell Green, so it was actually twice that he finished 10 rounds. With Tyson, he doesn't allow the opposition to settle down. Ribalta did this in his last fight, the Cuban, but as I say, he caught up with him in the final round. Mitchell Green did, in fact, stay the distance, just. Oh, what a left hook. Just separated himself from his senses there. What a punch. He hits you with everything. He's hanging on to the bottom rope, Ratliff. I don't think he's going to make this. It's 9. I'm surprised you didn't count him out in the act of rising there, Davy Pearl. In Britain, that certainly would have been so. And it's just a question of how long now, isn't it? Because right at the start of the round, Tyson's got the man on the hook, and he won't let him off. Sure. Midway through. Well, the talking came to nothing, and that's it. The referee should be in there now, as far as I'm concerned, because it's all over by the shouting. The right hand, there's no need for him to take this, and he stopped it as he hit the floor, and it should have been earlier. What a tremendous performance. Now, Ratliff doesn't get knocked over. Whatever you can say that he's only really a pumped-up light heavyweight, 14 stone 5 is no little man. And the way Tyson finished him really was awesome. Hardly blowing, almost. He created more sweat coming into the ring than he did in the actual fight. This man really is some fighter, there's no doubt about it. I can't believe at 20 years of age he can do all these things. And his aim, of course, is to win the World Championship in record time. His great pal then, Floyd Patterson, who was with his late great mentor, Customato, won it when he was 21. So let's have a look at the replay now as he catches him up there, backing off. That's the punch that started the downfall there. I was amazed that the referee let him go on after that. Now, from the overhead camera, backs into the ropes, legs well spread, and then bingo, he had no chance with that one. And the third angle, it's bad enough seeing it first time. Now, that's the second time that he moved into him there. This surely was when it was all over and there was no point in him going on. He just didn't know where he was. Bravely trying to stand up. I give him credit for that. But as he hit the deck, the referee waved it all over.
Well, he's a fearsome young man, isn't he? 27 fights, 27 wins, 25 inside the distance, and only a few of those fights have gone beyond round 2. What about his performance in that fight, Jim?
I'm really impressed by him. The fact that he's not as easy to hit as I'd first thought the first couple of times I saw him box. As he moves in, his hands are high, his head moves all the time. He can knock out with either hand. He's probably the only complete fighter we have in the heavyweight division we have in the world today. The only thing he lacks, I would say, is experience. He has everything else. He can knock out with either hand. As you can see, he can punch from any angle too. No matter where his feet are at the time, he manages to get full power into the punches. And he only needs to see a chance, and he goes right after it, no messing around. He's only in to do one thing, and as long as the fight lasts, that's the only thing that's on his mind. So these are good punches. The big fellow is trying to survive, but there's nowhere to go except the floor. But that's a tremendous performance. Yeah, I'm really impressed by him.
And he's had trouble with tall guys in the past. I mean, he didn't have an easy win against Ribalta. Well, he didn't have an easy win, but he didn't catch up with him until the 10th round.
Yeah, well, I don't worry too much about the fights that go the distance, that go quite a few rounds with Tyson, because it's difficult when your opponent only wants to survive. If the fights were close as far as points were concerned, then I would have doubts about him. But he's winning by a landslide. People are just managing to survive longer. But no, nothing.
Well, you say he's the most complete boxer in the world, complete puncher in the world at the moment. Is he the number one, do you think? In fact, let us have a look at the Unification Series now, because we're going to see him now facing Trevor Berbick as a result of that win tonight in November on ITV, by the way. All those fights on ITV, I must emphasize. Now, can Mike Tyson beat the big boys now, including Trevor Berbick?
I think he can beat Berbick. I don't say he's ready for all the big boys, but I think he's ready for Berbick. If I was handling Tyson, I wouldn't put him into the series, actually. I think the only thing he lacks is experience. He has power in either hand, a good chin, although it's not been tested too often as yet, good movement, good mobility. He has everything except experience. And if I was handling him, I would hold him back, let the series take place, and then move him into to box the winner. I think they're maybe taking a chance with him now.
Well, perhaps they are when you look at the second fight, because there's a lot of experience there. Tim Witherspoon against Tony Tubbs in December. Is Witherspoon going to win that one, a return? He won the first.
Yeah, I think Witherspoon's on his game now. I think all his problems, his social problems and domestic problems are behind him. Now he's back to full business again. I think he'll beat Tubbs again in another hard contest. But I think Witherspoon will go through, yeah.
Let's have a look at the list again, because we'll see that in that case, from your assessment, then it will be Tim Witherspoon to fight Mike Tyson. Now that would be, in other words, the WBC champion against the WBA champion. That's in February of next year. What about the outcome of that one as far as you're concerned?
I think the lack of experience may tell on Tyson then. I think Witherspoon, he's never been on the floor, very tough, very cagey. He's been there with everybody, all the fighters that matter. I think Tyson's lack of experience would let him down. He'd probably be outpointed, I would think.
And what about, in the last 30 seconds, what about the last fight then? It might be Witherspoon against Spinks, and who would be the ultimate champion of the world?
Well, I think at the moment Witherspoon is the best champion we have at the moment, so I think he'll be too strong and too good all the way around for Spinks.
You don't think there's a slight chance that Mike Tyson can get there?
Yeah, well, I've been wrong plenty of times before, but I just don't think now. I think next year definitely, but maybe not now. But I'm rehearsing my excuses, if you know what I mean. I could be wrong.
Jim, thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight. Thank you. Well, there's more World Championship boxing on ITV on Wednesday night at 10:30, when you can see live coverage of Dennis Andrews' defense of his WBC light heavyweight title against Tony Simpson. The first time for some years that two British fighters have fought for a world title. That's in midweek sports special. Tonight, we've seen two powerful displays, one from Michael Spinks, who's now only one fight away from being the undisputed champion of the world, and the other from the young pretender, Mike Tyson, who has fought his way into the Unification Series. Who knows? They could be heading for a showdown. And whatever happens in the series, you can only see it on ITV. From Jim and May, good night.